My name is Roy, and I am a whiskey botherer. Yeah, it's a bit of a confession time tonight. We're going to mark 5 years of the vPub tonight, but we're going to not kind of dwell too much on that. There's no kind of big celebration, no fireworks, nothing, but it's nice to mark it. And I decided that it would be a good way to mark it is to get five people, rather than just me sitting here talking about hoarding and the dynamics behind hoarding, why I think that's going to change things in whiskey over the next year or so. Let's get folk in from the community. That was the plan tonight. And then we kind of developed this idea of making it a bit of a confessional and talking about our own buying habits, our own hoarding habits, and how that could potentially change going forward. So that's what we're going to be doing tonight. We're going to be talking about how many bottles we've accumulated over time. It's quite shocking to do that bottle count thing for a lot of us, I know. We're going to share that and we're going to talk about how that's going to potentially affect whiskey generally in the coming year or so. I'll see you all in a second. Hello, whiskey folk. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Thursday night. Welcome to the vPub. And happy Thanksgiving to everybody that celebrates Thanksgiving on this very day. It was Thanksgiving of 2017 that I hit the go live button for the first time. And it was at 9:45, the same time that we go live. If we're on time, I was late tonight. I was a couple of minutes late with so many people behind the scenes, just making sure everything's working okay. Um, yeah, I went live at 9:45 p.m. on the 17th. Sorry, not the 17th, the 20. I don't even remember the actual date, but it was Thanksgiving in 2017. Um, I don't really celebrate these markers, these anniversaries and things, but I do mark them occasionally. We did celebrate 3 years of the vPub. I think that was worthy. It's whiskey, so 3 years makes sense, right? But I mean, if I'd have just let tonight go and pass, I know I would have had comments from you guys as well. So it's going to be a regular topic and a regular vPub. But in order to bring a wee bit of fun into things, let's bring in folk from the community. One of my favourite things to do, actually, the community that I have been so privileged to enjoy over the last 5 years. Community that is quite honestly turned into friends and friendships for me. That's a whole other topic for a vPub, actually. I think that could be a really good fun one. But these people have been there for a long, long time. Some of them going right back to the beginning. So even if you've not seen their faces before, there's a good chance you have. But if you haven't, you'll get to meet them tonight and get to put a face to the name. And then we'll ask them the difficult questions and we can all kind of judge each other. And I think we need to be careful about that because some people have modest collections and that suits them just fine. Some people have modest collections because of resources, because of money, because they're a limited budget. Some people are very, very deliberate and careful. And other people, especially if you've been into whiskey like me for 17 years, and for 5 of those years, actually more than 5 of those years, the channel in general, you're buying whiskey for a different reason then. And you very, very quickly end up with certainly much more whiskey than you can reasonably enjoy from a healthy perspective. So it's kind of odd dynamic, isn't it? It's not exclusive to whiskey, but whiskey is very good at encouraging that kind of thing to happen. However, I think that everybody is kind of looking at things right now, and there's a perfect storm happening right now. The cost of living, inflation, energy crisis, resources, everything is just kind of happening now that's making us kind of rethink things. And for a lot of us who have been indulging our collection slash selection for a long time now and buying what we love and maybe potentially buying backups of what we love, and then furthermore buying things because maybe they're going to be limited or disappear or they're going to be discontinued, or perhaps we've heard a rumor that there's a price hike on the way. There's lots and lots of reasons that we end up taking a bottle and putting another one behind it and another one behind that. Very, very quickly, things can get maybe not out of hand, but maybe out of hand. but maybe we end up just through a process of accumulation, just having far, far too much. It's fine, it's whiskey. It lasts a long time. We're always going to be able to open and share it if we have it. It's fantastic. However, I think that there's times that we've just kind of got to look at it and say, all right, I'm fine for a while. I'm okay. I'll slow down. I don't need it. I think that if you look at the history of Scotch whisky, if you look at boom and bust, we're not going to get caught up in boom and bust. We're not going to talk about Scotch whisky history tonight. That's not what tonight's VPub is about. But if you look at its history, it's usually been boom and bust because of over optimism. The if you look at the late 19th century, if you look at the 70s into the 1980s, these were on the back of huge, huge over speculation of what the market actually wanted. But there were lots of other dynamics at play that nobody was really factoring into these forecasts. And on a lot of occasions in Scotch whisky's past, these have come into play and really significantly affected things. Now, are we there? Are we at a point where everything's going to crash? Not so sure. Honestly, I don't think that's the case. I think there's lots of things that makes today a lot more complex than that, and certainly a lot different. But I do think that we're at a point of everything reaching its maximum, everything just being pushed a little bit too far. And I think that there's a feeling out there that people are just going to continue buying whatever whiskey gets put out there. And I really don't, I'm not very sure that that's the case. Anyway, tonight is not going to be a scientific thing. It's not going to be fully conclusive, but it is going to just kind of build on the questionnaire that we took at the end of the Oswas. You might remember there were 5 questions asked. That's the same 5 questions I'm going to be asking my 5 guests to celebrate 5 years tonight, and just kind of start the debate. Get people talking about it, get people thinking about it, and get people thinking about, not just the immediate, the right now situation in whiskey, but whiskey's kind of long-term health. We've never known it to be like this before. We've never known it to be like this before. Anyway, with that said, I'm going to jump into the lounge and welcome some of you beautiful whiskey folk and dedicated barflies. See how you're all doing this evening. Remember, if you're trying to get my attention, you can just click Aquavitae or type Aquavitae at Aquavitae. It works as well. And if you're in the YouTube chat, I will see it. It's orange, and that's kind of what helps me and prompts me to jump into the chat throughout the night. Harrow is in. Whiskey Weekend Dram, good to see you. Still hoarding. Did not open a new bottle tonight. He's winking at me. Maybe we can get you to change your mind, Harrow, and you'll open something nice a wee bit later. Whiskey Franco is in, saying Aquavitae and all you wonderful barflies. Making some turkey. So we'll be in and out. Can't wait to hear the confessional. Of course, we need to raise a glass to everyone in for a happy Thanksgiving to you, Whiskey Franco. I hope the turkey is going well, my friend. Cheers. North Coast Drama is in, saying good evening. Hope you're keeping well. I am, North Coast Drama. It's good to have you in. North Coast Drama, I'm sure that's Tony, isn't it? That's Tony. Luna is here. You might see Luna appearing live a wee bit later. Hey, Roy, and good evening. Good evening, Luna. And Greg's Whiskey Guide and Greg in Paris is saying, not sure exactly how hoarding translates, but understood it's meant some kind of FOMO, right? No, hoarding is kind of over accumulation, not being able to manage how much stuff you have, you hoard. There's different applications for it, but over accumulation, Greg, I hope that makes a wee bit more sense. Gervin Blocker is here. Gervin, good to see you, saying congratulations on 5 years of YouTube. Well, the channel is older than 5 years. But it was 5 years ago on Thanksgiving that the vPub, well, it wasn't even called the vPub back then, but I started doing this Thursday night, 9:45 time slot live stream. That was exactly 5 years ago tonight, Herman, and that's what I wanted to mark, because I tend not to stick at anything. For me to do something for 5 years is quite incredible. Connor Smith is saying, that's my whiskey journal. He's saying, evening, Roy and Barflies. Good to have you in, Connor. Wonderful to welcome you again. Gino is here. Brilliant. Gino, I know that you and Graham are looking forward to a trip to Scotland very soon. Hello, Roy. Hope you're doing well, sir. I am, buddy, and I'm looking forward to welcoming you in Scotland. Benny Fries is in. Good evening, Roy. Hope you're well. Good to see you, Benny. Jimmy Jazz, BMO, Chris Mills. Wonderful stuff. Bruno Martin's in Portugal. Gordon Fraser is here. Good to have you, Gordon. I hope you're keeping well, buddy. Antoine Ham, good to see you, Antoine. He's saying hello, Barflies. And Whiskey Central, Shayla is celebrating being a member for 24 months. Happy 5 years, Roy. Thankful for you. Thankful for you too, Shayla. What a sweet thing to say. Wonderful stuff. Vin, No Nonsense Whiskey, he put out a review of my Aquavitae Loch Lomond bottling today, and he spent a bit of time talking about just how cool a picture it was on the back of the bottle, painted by the hand of our Sheila. Wonderful to have you, Sheila. Thanks for supporting as a barfly over the last 2 years as well. P-Ed is here. Good to see you, Frank. Evening, Roy, you hoarder? Absolutely, Frank. Good to see you in your own vPub. Congrats on the 5 years. Thank you very much, buddy. It's good to have you here. Gav's Drams is here as well. Gav, what a pleasure to spend a wee bit of time with you in the Glasgow weekend a couple of weeks ago. Keeping well, Gav. I hope you're doing well, my friend. Nick Gascoigne is celebrating being a member. Evening, all barflies. Happy 5 years, Aquavitae. Thank you very much. And Alistair Gray, a member for 33 months. Happy 5th birthday, Aquavitae. Kilco Brian is celebrating being a member as well. Happy to be one of those whiskey folk, Roy. I'm happy that you are too, Brian. Wonderful to have you here, buddy. Happy Thanksgiving, Brian. Dennis Jones is in. He's bought my wee dram as well. No comment or anything, Dennis, but I see you're a barfly too. Thank you, my friend. Cheers to you for the dram. And Island Hopper Stewart is here. 5 years. Amazing. I think I was with you on edition number 1. There's quite a few that were here on number. And I think when we celebrated the 3-year mark, I think I mentioned a couple of the ones that were in at the start. But thank you for being here, Stuart, from the very beginning. Thank you for enduring and suffering me. Arnie Tiger is saying congratulations on 5 years. It's a privilege, like being along for the ride. Arnie, it's a privilege to have you here. Ian Bruce is saying good evening, Roy. Congratulations on the anniversary. And MM Karsten is saying good evening, Roy. I'm not hoarding anything yet. I wouldn't even have the money for that. It's going to be different for everybody, MM, but I'm going to try to. I haven't asked anybody the questions in advance. I'm just going to ask them here on the night, so their answers will be just spontaneous and fresh, and we'll just run with it. And so I haven't pre-selected anyone, but remember that there's no kind of. We're hopefully not going to try and generalize too much tonight. We're going to remember that through lockdown, that produced a lot of new whiskey fans, right? And since lockdown started to ease up again, and people are going to events and things, there are new whiskey fans coming in all the time, and they'll be looking and hearing these numbers that will be banded around tonight and saying, "This is crazy." So we need to remember that. We need to remember that what the people that's joining me tonight are very mature in their journey, most of them at least. And that means that their kind of, cookie trail of bottles are going to seem quite significant. So we need to bear in mind that it's not one size fits all, and it's going to be different for everybody. Tim Hoekstra is celebrating being a member as well, saying congrats on the 5 years of the vPub. Danny Hebbington has bought me a dram. Danny, thank you. You start. Evening, Roy. Evening, barflies, and congrats on 5 years. Danny, thank you for the generous dram, my friend. It's wonderful to have you and Danny. Going to need to keep a wee sip. On a couple of shout outs were on this notepad, but it was out of reach when I was here with Roddy last week. And it meant that I dropped the ball a wee bit, and there was a couple of shout outs that I should have taken care of, and I forgot. But I want to put a shout out to a couple of friends that I missed at the Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend. I never got a chance to meet Alan Campbell. Alan chose to spend the day home with his son Thomas for his son Thomas's birthday. So he never made it along. Alan, I'll meet you one day. And if it's at the festival weekend or somewhere in between times, we can raise a glass together, buddy. Sorry you missed it. Also, I want to say sorry to not being able to meet and spend time with Graham. Graham was a huge support throughout the Oz. He was helping Rolfy and I run that whole thing. And that was going to be a bit of a celebration weekend for us at the festival. And he took unwell and he couldn't make it. He's back to full health now, and I've got other plans to utilise the man's skills. So Graham, I'll raise a glass with you and Alan, hopefully in the future. Sorry to have missed you, and I hope that you're feeling better, buddy. I also want to raise a glass, and I want everybody in the vPub to raise a glass with me, because our pal, Justin Wan, is marrying his fiancée, Kaylis, on Saturday. So I don't think he's going to be in tonight. He may be in tonight, but he may be prepping for the big day on Saturday. But I believe that Justin and Kaylis both tune into the vPub from time to time. Justin's a regular, as you know, but I want to raise a glass and wish you all the very, very best, Justin and Kaylis. Have a fantastic day on Saturday. I hope it works out well for you. Just keep it focused. I'll raise this wee glass and say congratulations. It's a fantastic day. Make the most of it. Cheers. Why have I used the term whiskey botherer? Recently, somebody said to me, I really don't like it when we refer to whiskey folk as enthusiasts. And then I got into a discussion with her, and I'd kind of we worked out that it didn't seem that there was a better word, but it didn't sit. The word enthusiast didn't sit very well with her. But I think generally most of us are comfortable with that. But it is quite difficult to find a collective noun, right? Not everybody self-refers as a barfly. Not everybody sees themselves as whiskey folk. Not everyone sees themselves as a geek, as an enthusiast. So my botherer word is just as likely to be as offensive as any other word. But understand, context is everything, and it, any word that we use is meant in a positive way. So even if, I mean, some people don't like the word moist, right? I quite like the word moist, but some people really don't like that word as an example. But it's context and it's not intended to cause any offense. So if I use the word geek or enthusiast or botherer or whiskey folk or barfly or whatever, keep me right how you self-refer, but it's not ever intended to be anything other than inclusive. Graham Brown is in tonight and he's saying, looking forward to it. Fantastic. No, Rolex is in saying, I reckon on average my stash is 50% more expensive if I bought now compared to when I purchased. That's a 50% saving at the time I open that bottle. That's an interesting spin on a word. So you're not making a 50% profit, you're making a 50% saving because you would have bought the bottles anyway today. Good way to look at it. Gordon Fraser is saying I use the term that Doug uses, whiskey exciter. Whiskey exciter, another word. Whiskey exciters, whiskey botherers, whiskey. These are just a collective noun that's meant to kind of not just refer to a group of people, but try and describe them a little bit too. It looks like my friend Bill is in and bought me a dram, and I could have missed it. Bill is in. Generous dram too. Happy Thanksgiving, Roy. Just dropping in to say hello, but off to turkey dinner. Looking forward to listening to this one on the replay. It hits close to home. Here's a little something for your piggy bank. Cheers. That's my pal Bill that a lot of you got to meet and hang out with over the Glasgow Whisky Festival weekend. He's out in California just now enjoying his Thanksgiving dinner. Bill, cheers to you, Christine and the family, my friend. Nice to have you in, buddy. Thank you for the dram. Bill and I knew each other way before I was a whiskey botherer. And Ebbhead is in as well, saying cheers to 5 years, Roy. Thank you very much, Rolfy. I'm going to need to put something else in my glass. Before I get my guests in tonight, I'm going to kind of define some of the reasons that you could potentially be hoarding whiskey for. Something that would cause somebody to hoard whiskey, because it's not just all about FOMO. Let's talk about that fear of missing out thing. Yeah, that is part of it. But there's very valid ways that you can break FOMO up into different things. And then there's other things at play as well. We often just want a wee bit of reassurance. I've got a bottle here, and well, this doesn't perhaps suit reassurance. This one does. Earlier in the year, we talked about this very, very similar subject. In previous vPub, we talked about it as we've talked about bottle chasing in a previous vPub, an old vPub. We talked about how to manage your collection in a previous vPub when I got a few people in for the community to talk about that. And earlier this year, we talked about open bottle syndrome and how to manage the amount of open bottles that we end up having, and is it a problem? And of course, I explained it away, much in the way that I might do tonight. That I've got this fantastic excuse of a vPub every week that encourages a collection of whiskey. But I'm just a human who loves whiskey too, and I'm weak. I uncorked a brand new Speyburn 15 on that vPub back in April. The box was delivered earlier that day, and I opened it live with you, and I talked a wee bit about the Speyburn and what it meant to me, and I still had some on the go. This is the bottle that I opened back in April. So you can see I'm clearly enjoying it. I'll pour a wee drop just now since I've got an empty glass. Let's get a clean glass on the go. I opened it in that vPub, and I talked about how, for me, it's good to be able to find these whiskies and to talk to you about them. I've talked about this so often now that I'm sure you think that I've got a deal with Speyburn or I've got an affiliate link or something like that going on, but I absolutely don't. These are bought with my money, my own money, and it's my decision to buy them. Why do I keep needing to buy the same bottle again if I've already tried it and told you that it's a great bottle to buy? Because this is the standard now. For £60 or less, this is a 15-year-old, heavily sherried these days, Speyside whiskey that I think is fantastic and full of flavour. So when something else comes along, similarly spec'd, this is the benchmark that I hold it to. I can't run on memory when I'm doing that kind of thing. I have to be able I'm not going to keep every 15-year-old Speyside, every 15-year-old sherry cask, every 15-year-old whatever it is. I'm going to keep the ones that I've really connected with. I also need a wee bit of reassurance. And if I'm worried that it might kind of go out of stock a wee bit when I get down to a low level in the bottle, I'm going to park another bottle behind it. This has been on the shelf for a little while now. And I'm also mindful that it could disappear. I'm also mindful that it could go up in price. We can talk about that. There's another wee dram come in from Greg Lewis. Greg, he's saying happy anniversary to the guy that turned me on to Deanston nearly 4 years ago. Thanks, Roy, for excellent reviews of the recycled bin. Greg, what a wonderful dram and a nice wee message to be able to read out, buddy. I'm glad you're enjoying Deanston. Cheers to you. As if it's some kind of intended segue, let's pour a wee Deanston right now. I nearly picked this one up a second ago. But this Deanston I've picked out to talk about another dynamic that happens that causes us perhaps to consider hoarding whiskey. This is Deanston's Palo Cortado. And if we look at this one, we can see that it's a Palo Cortado finished whiskey, 12 years old. The reason that this type of thing can cause, this is a very unique flavour experience. This is a small batch, it's not a single cask, okay? There's quite a few of these. In fact, actually, it could be a single cask because it's only a 492 bottles. So it could have been a few bourbon casks that went into a big Palo Cortado butt. And it was finished in that time. Cask strength, unchill filtered and finished in Palo Cortado casks. So it doesn't tell us how they've come about that, but this was a small batch release. 55.4%, and I love this stuff. This is probably my third bottle, and I thought it was going to disappear. I thought it was going to be gone forever. And then just before pandemic time, I would guess, I was in the Deanston shop. The Palo Cortados are long sold out, but they had a case, or they had a case returned to them for some odd reason, and they had just a couple of bottles sitting on the shelf. And immediately, despite being quite tightly on a tight budget, I had that anxiety, didn't I? I said, it's there. It's there. I'm on my last bottle, but my last bottle's open, and I grabbed it and I brought it home. I didn't need it. I had some on the shelf. Am I happy I did it? Absolutely, because it'd be a lot more expensive to buy today, and it still wouldn't be the same thing. I'm glad to have this now because I'm near the end of one of my favourite Deanstons ever. So that suggestion of limited availability, the idea that we're not going to be able to buy it forever, if it comes along at a point in our journey that we really connect with it and we love it, of course, we're going to be tempted to spend the money, buy it, and store it. That adds to the hoarding. Of course it does. If we look at another one here, we're always a wee bit nervous about the prices going up. We talked at length about the value of this bottling. This is Anoch's 24-year-old. This is a 24-year-old, fully natural, all natural whiskey, unchill filtered, natural colour, wonderfully complex, different, unique, different from any other 24-year-old or anything around this age and price point I can think of. It's doing its own thing. It's quite a unique, complex product. I love the stuff. I've talked about it at length. I paid £110 for a few, 110, 115. Occasionally it would go on offer for 24-year-old whiskey. So I bought an extra one because I was suspicious that the prices would increase. That has happened. Not nearly as much as a lot of price increases out there. This is 24-year-old malt we're talking about, but it's now sitting at about 140 to 150 pounds. I paid 110 to 115 for this. I think that's great value. But what does it do? We spend money that we've then not got anymore for something that's just going to sit on the shelf for a while. But like no Rolex pointed out, you get to the point where it's ready to open it, you're not precious about it, and you've saved money. It's a good way to look at it, an interesting way to look at it. So we've got price hikes, we've got that limitation thing. Then we've got something that's so celebrated, so celebrated to the point that we can't buy it. This wee Springbank 10 is getting very, very low because I love it so. It's a fantastic whiskey. It was a whiskey that, believe it or not, despite everybody accepting and talking about how great it was often not celebrated quite as much. We had always had this idea that we weren't able to buy it all the time. It wasn't something that you could just go into the shop and be guaranteed it to be on the shelf, even before the pandemic kicked in. When the pandemic kicked in, it became the must have. To the point that I am in a shop, I don't need any more whiskey. I do not. But I'm in a shop and I can see the shop I was in. This has got a sticker on the top. Can you see? £52 I paid for this at the Spa. I think it must have been the Spa in Bòcan. I think it must be when I was over on Isla. It doesn't make sense otherwise. I don't know what other Spa I would have been in. But I see this on the shelf and I pick it up and I take it home. And the date code on this is 18th of January 2022. So this has happened this year. So again, that idea that things are in such demand are driving us to be a little bit selfish. I'm buying more than I need, which means that somebody that's never had a Springbank 10 can't buy it. But I want it. I'm going to put it on the shelf because I need it. I can justify having that Springbank 10, but I am definitely buying more than I need. And then there's this one other idea that maybe this is a one-off thing. And it's going to come out. It's going to be available for a while, small batch, large batch, but one off. And what do? We don't buy one, we buy two. Maybe we open one of the two, we decide we really love it and buy a third. That's exactly what I did with Campbelltown Loch. Now, it turns out that the egg's on my face with this one because this is now readily available. Out of all the things from Springbank, this is not a single malt, this is blended malt whiskey. It's not all from Springbank. It's Campbelltown malts that's in this, but this is a blended malt. It came out at £35, £38. It's still hovering around 40, but this is plentiful, it would seem. And out of the products that come from that producer, Campbelltown Loch seems to be some of the most available. But again, I wasn't sure about that, so I'm speculating. I like this stuff. This is zero anxiety drinking and sharing. I would like a wee bit more of this. I want to be able to talk about this for a while. There's lots of things that push us in that direction. That's what I want to talk about tonight, but not just what me. I'll tell you what my numbers are at the end of tonight. I'll tell you how many bottles I've got, tell you how many are opened or how many are sealed, and I'll tell you what I think I'm going to do about my habits over 2023 and beyond. But we're going to get some guests in and ask that first. Some things that's potentially going to stop that, prevent that. A lot of people are talking about, it's not a silly thing, it's a real thing. They don't have space anymore. They've filled their cabinets. They've bought another cabinets. They've filled that. They've filled a shelf, and now it's on the floor. If they're living alone, it's fine. But if they've got somebody else in the house or a family or anything, that's going to cause a problem. Capacity, real estate, not having the space. You need to make difficult decisions. And you need to start sharing, drinking, enjoying your whiskey and buying less. Capacity, real estate capacity is real. Money is huge. Not just because we're potentially going to be earning less and paying more just to live through inflation, energy costs, all of these things, but because the money isn't going as far as it used to when it comes to whiskey. Something's going to have to give. It's inevitable that we can't keep buying at the same pace when our money is becoming less and the whiskey is becoming more expensive. And if you ask somebody who's been in whiskey for a long time and they've refined their palate down to exactly knowing what they love and love best, to tell them that they need to go back years and go back to the cheaper stuff in order to keep their whiskey fix going, that's a difficult sell. It's difficult to come back down the stairs, isn't it? Price is huge. Price is probably the biggest thing for me. Not just the prices that are becoming ridiculous from some producers out there, but this nonsense that's going on with the cost of casks, cask investment programs, all of this. When it's been overheated for long enough now, it's going to end messy. Also, the perception of quality. We've been through an unprecedented amount of time where I believe that people are confident about quality. More often than not, they're buying blind based on previous experience with distilleries, producers, independent bottlers, whatever it may be. They're going out and knowing that they're going to have a minimum experience, and they're hoping for an exceptional experience a lot of the time. The quality has been generally pretty good now in recent times. That has to be maintained. It really has to be maintained. But as the prices climb and as the cost of the casks climb, it's going to be harder for people to maintain those price points. Quality could potentially come unstuck. But that's why we're here. That's why we occupy all this space together. We want to talk about this. And then there's the flip side of the idea of something being limited. Sometimes that's used, against us. Sometimes it's suggested that this is limited when it's not limited. There's plenty of it. There could be plenty of it, but they choose to put it out in small, limited batches. It's a very effective marketing / sales tool, if you like. The idea that something is in short supply. It's not unique to whiskey. Everybody uses that. But there's also the idea that they need to be genuinely careful, because if suddenly the market is flooded with too much stuff, it really doubles up, because instead of people feeling FOMO, they start to get this comfort that there's plenty of whiskey out there, more whiskey than they can ever. They really become spoilt for choice. The bottle chasing ends. Everything slows down and it further impacts things. It could be a significant thing. Anyway, I am considering seriously about me and my position here, what I do for a living, sitting here on Thursday nights and talking to you guys, running Dramface and looking at what's happening there, the whiskey reviews, the opinions, everything that's getting shared in there. I'm looking at this and thinking, what am I going to be doing going forward? How is it going to affect what I'm doing? And it will change it. It has to change it, and I'll explain why. Peter Wilcox is saying, to be honest, Roy, if I were told to go back to, say, supermarket whiskies, I would struggle and possibly, very possibly, stop drinking this gorgeous juice. Peter, you're not alone in that. There's nothing wrong with supermarket whiskies. If you're sitting down and having a nice time, you can have a very valid, perfectly good experience with a supermarket whiskey, and even a nice night. But is it going to make you really, is it going to bring those epiphanies? Is it going to make you stare into the glass? It's not going to do that like the collection that you've become to enjoy. Rolex is saying the whiskey will sell no matter how expensive. Developing country rich such as China will buy, just like they gobble up all luxury goods and cigars. I don't think China is in for an easy ride going forward as well. I think whiskey is going to be one of the first things to be cut. Good evening, Roy, says Jan, dramming around. Jan Luigi, that was fantastic to meet you over in the Glasgow. What was your partner's name? I'm trying to think now. I wanted to say Heather, but I'm pretty sure it's not. It was fantastic to meet you both there. I hope you had a fantastic time. Just stopping by to say hi before heading to bed. We'll catch up on the replay as usual. Slancha. Jan Luigi, thank you very much for dropping in to say hi. A pleasure to have you here, buddy. And Lucas is saying, aren't we spoiled for choice? I guess we like to join the hype train. Choo-choo, says Lucas. Listen, we all can succumb to hype. It's very much part of it. It just depends if that hype aligns with the stuff that we actually want or we think we want. And Jeff Whiskey is saying it's it's a hard reflection to face. I know that all whiskey luxuries will be winding down for me. You're not the only one, Jeff. And Jenny Carlson is in. I did a tasting in Switzerland while working at Springbank. A guy there proudly told me he always buys the bottles, one to drink, one to keep, and one to sell. That's the famous line, Jenny, from The Angel's Share, the Ken Loach movie. That's the kind of dynamic that they portray in that film: one to keep, one to swap or trade, and one to open and drink and share. Absolutely, it's been a thing for a while. When Talisker 18 has just gone £175, that's not going to happen. Maybe when Jenny's works for Ardnamurchan. Ardnamurchan have got the balance just about right. So they have a product there that when we can buy more than one, then maybe that's going to be a temptation to do that then. But Ardmarkin have also done a fantastic job of getting the product to stick so that they can extend to more and more markets, it would seem, from my opinion. Highland Hamish is saying, I lay the blame for my hoarding firmly at the door of the various engaging people at our great independent whisky shops around the country who entice me with their wares, as is their job. Absolutely, Highland Hamish. But buddy, if you don't have the money, you just won't go to the shops and you don't have a chance to get that chat going to engage you and to get you spending your money. And Lowlander is saying definitely not at the spa at local petrol station. Well, unless it's on Isla, then you'd be surprised. Jim Whiskey obviously saying hopefully current times are only passing. Whiskey is always going to be a luxury item. There's plenty out there to suit all our pockets. We just need to keep it real. Keeping it real is huge, Jim. We work together as a community to find out where that value is. And Greg in Paris is saying, I wonder how many barflies buy also other spirits and the proportion of them with whiskey. I consider it as good to stay open to other spirits at a certain extent, even if whiskey comes first. I think it's very wise too. I do have other spirits here and I dabble from time to time, but I don't really buy much. Most of these tend to have come as gifts. Anyway, let's get the guests in. Let's see what they're saying. I've been going on for 36 minutes already. Let's talk to the community. I'm going to reach out to, who did we decide is going to be first tonight? This is probably the most familiar face that you'll see. Hopefully his battery is charged. Hopefully he's not vaping and he's not sitting in a cloud of vape. Oh my goodness, he's doing something. Let's just bring in our pal, Seve. Seve, oh my goodness.
Hello.
And you feel like you've added some headgear since the tech chat before we went live.
I have indeed. Indeed, now, this might have a wee bearing on the chat we're about to have. So
I think
other distributors aren't available.
the thing is I need to be careful because I think when it comes to you and I, we know each other quite well. We know our habits. We know we are different people, you and I, very different people. And that's why it's really interesting when we come together and have these discussions, because you can give me advice and you can give me perspectives of things that I don't really touch and get involved in. You're much more into your independent bottlings, I would say. You're much more into secondary. You're much more into, you know where to get products, whereas I don't so much. When you talk to me, I tend to be one that's going to be able to have more of a, where we're getting the quality from, official distillery bottlings and things like that. We're slightly different people, but we still love to purr over a glass of malt, do we not?
We absolutely do, yes, totally. Excuse me.
So totally, what's driving Seve at the minute? Can I just say, if we're celebrating 5 years, buddy, can we raise a wee glass together?
Yes,
because
absolutely.
One of the things that, and I think we need to cover this in a future vPub. I don't know how you feel about it, but one of the things that's an incidental benefit that is huge, maybe the single biggest benefit to me doing this whiskey thing over these 5 years of the vPub and beyond at the channel generally, something I didn't imagine was friendships. And yet they come and they come and they come and they come. I'll never forget this guy who was just floating around the channel, just the alchemist, a bit of fun, a bit of things, a bit of questions, a bit eager, keen to learn all that stuff. Meet you in a pub in town, fast friendship. Seems like you've been around forever, buddy.
I know, it's like
Scotty talks about it a lot. I'm not going to get emotional here. Scotty talks about it a lot. Whiskey did this, right? I was not expecting to meet pals in middle age. So it's cost a lot of money. It's given us a lot of experiences. But I think one of the biggest things we have to be thankful for is friendship, buddy. So that's my way of saying thank you for hanging about. Cheers to Seve.
And cheers to you, Roy. Yeah, I think that was about 7 years ago or something like that. Maybe 5 or 7 years ago.
No, when we met? Oh, no, that would have been...
Was that longer than that?
It could have been 2017, I think 2018.
Really?
But it feels like I said, it feels like you've been around for a hell of a lot longer. Here's another fella, Jimmy Jazz is in buying us a wee dram. Seve, please put the hat back on, Jimmy.
I'll put it on later for you. I'll put it on for the quiz, Jimmy. Don't worry.
Put it on for the quiz at the end, and
absolutely.
Give Ian Croucher and the team at North Star some exposure.
Absolutely.
Buddy, you're different from me in a different respect as well. You're a machine. You're a machine. You have worked out a way to get the whiskey that you want to get a hold of, the things that make you, the brings the passion out for you, the whiskies that you like, and then you've worked out as you've transitioned how to then switch that and get the new things that you like. That's the Seve. You're fast-paced. You do things a wee bit differently. Is this a difficult confessional for you? If I ask you these 5 questions, is it going to be difficult?
It would probably have been more difficult a couple of years ago, maybe, especially during lockdown, because with the idea of not really being able to go anywhere, there was more opportunity to like spend your time chasing bottles, I guess. So it is kind of tough, but like I've kind of metamorphosized in my kind of whiskey journey over the last few years, like I think like everybody else has. But I think I'm going to be quite unique compared to the rest of the guests, because I'm maybe not, like, I almost shy away, as you've said, from distillery bottlings. So I seek those little rarities that it doesn't have to be like expensive rarities, but those little rarities that you're not sure of, that maybe something that has a hook that just drives you. Now, like for example, the Arran Gherkin, like that for me is an amazing whiskey, and it's a cult whiskey, but for a lot of people it's just not for them. But that for me is the joy of it, because it's so polarizing that it's a one man's trash is another man's treasure, all that kind
And
of stuff.
another, like the North Star English 11-year-old that you love
Exactly.
so much, right? So we know
Yes.
you're chasing the extreme end of things. You like it dialed up to 11. You're looking for flavor hooks.
Absolutely.
I'm just going to come out and ask, because I think it would have been a difficult discussion to have with you, but from what you're saying, there has been some reform, perhaps palate
Yes.
refinement, and you working out what your lanes are and sticking to your lanes a wee bit more. But let's ask you, Seve,
Uh-huh.
would you consider yourself a whiskey botherer, and how many bottles do you have?
So I would definitely consider myself a whiskey botherer. If to quote a very famous line from the show Friends, if you were to ask me for a ballpark, it's definitely more than a ballpark. But yeah, so I would probably say
some.
At its peak, it was probably over 500. I would have said bottles in the collection. I would say it's far more streamlined now through. As you've said, I do a lot of kind of different things with regards to kind of, I swap bottles, I buy bottles for other people. I like a lot of people have bottles for a rainy day. I also have bottles for my kids, but at the same time, like I consider them all part of my kind of the grand stash. Yes, so there are quite a few. Maybe it's significantly less than that now, because I've opened quite a few of them. I've also.
I'm recording for posterity 500.
Yeah. Okay. So 5.
Is that too much?
You could say that. I would say like I just hope my missus isn't lost.
Well, it's a dynamic. It's a dynamic in a lot of relationships. What's your ratio of? Have you counted sealed to open or not?
I haven't counted, because I actually didn't have time to count, because there are quite a considerable amount. But what I would also say is, in the last kind of maybe year and a half, 2 years, there's a lot more open than there was originally. So I've actually, as I've progressed, opened more bottles, and bottles that I thought I was going to keep for a lot longer. Now, with me, this idea of chasing a lot of the independent bottles, that's the reason why, because if I can get 2 of a bottle that's only a single cask, then I'm never not going to jump at that, because the fact is I'm never going to see that again, because it's a single cask. So as I said, I'm maybe slightly different to a lot of your other guests tonight, that I maybe have to buy an extra one if I can get my hands on it. If somebody's like very gracious enough to say I can get one, or I can find another one from somewhere else, then I would be mad not to, especially if it's one of my go-to whiskies. But I can also have a situation where it doesn't work out.
If we work out that, then we worked out that you got involved in the channel maybe 4 or so years ago. So you've been into whiskey for about 5 years. Your current run rate then is that net is somewhere in the realm of about 100 bottles a year, right? Now there's a huge churn. There's a huge churn happening there. So how many bottles would you suggest that you're consuming in a year?
See,
It's hard. And I'm
that
not
is a
asking you to,
difficult.
I'm not talking about what you sip at a club night. I'm not talking about when we're at
Mm.
festivals and that kind of thing. I'm not even talking about if you come over here. I'm talking about how many bottles of your own purchasing that's ending up in that stash that we're talking about at home. How many are you consuming? How many are you getting through yourself? Including what you share, of course.
This is really difficult because I do share quite a bit of them with my brother and my friends, and even some of the people in the village that I live in and stuff like that. So it's hard to really say. Like I wouldn't have said. Like I was thinking to myself, do I consume a bottle a month? I probably do more than that, like a lot more than that. But like it doesn't seem like I do, because then my stash would still be pretty big, and it's not. Well, I say it's not. It is pretty
Yep.
big. But that I'm lying to myself if I'm saying that it's not pretty big. But
I'm gonna put you down for 18 plus because I don't believe you. On the
18
bottle
plus a
one.
month. You think I
Sorry, a
drink
year.
a year? Okay, maybe 20 a year.
Okay.
Let's say 20 a year, because I can't. The other problem I have, Roy, and I know this is another kind of aspect, is I definitely have a hoarding problem with samples.
Me too.
That is a massive, massive problem, because I've actually made a conscious effort now not to be buying samples or to be saying, oh yeah, I'll do a split with this or I'll do a split with that, because I literally, like, I've got drawers full of them, and I actually don't know what to do with them. I'd actually quite like to have a situation where we could go to an event and just delve out samples, because I literally don't have the chance to drink them all.
We need to do more of that. Once we all
Yeah,
start
that
getting
would be
back together
brilliant.
again, I think what we need to do is just have nae bottles, sample night only. I get it completely. And of course that means that if you are sipping samples of an evening, you're fortifying the bottles on the shelf because you're still buying bottles and they're not getting
Yep.
opened, drunk, and emptied as well. So it's all compounding it, absolutely. What's going to happen to Seve's purchasing in 2023, buddy?
It's severely, I would say, I don't want to say slowing down, because the thing is, I feel like it will slow down in some respects, but in other respects, because of the kind of the niche market I look at, it may well kind of tick along, because it really depends. I may not buy some for X amount of time, and then there may be 3 or 4 bottles that come along in an outturn, or
Yep.
within 2 producers' outturns, that I'm like, I need to have these bottles, and then the problem is, I don't know whether I should admit this now, but I know Mr. Croucher will be very proud of me, but I do remember a situation that I admitted to you that I had 65 unopened bottles of North Star that I didn't even realise that I had.
Yeah.
So yeah, my name is Seve, and I am a North
A
Star
North Star botherer.
botherer. That's right. Yeah, absolutely. So,
It's
but that,
funny because you get trust in the producer. You like the way the bottles look. You just feel this kind of confidence with it. They're fairly priced most of the time, right? So you're
yeah,
it takes the anxiety out of it, and you end up without even making a conscious decision that you've accumulated and you've turned into a collector or bother or whatever it may
yeah,
be. So what you're actually saying is because you have already amended your behavior, you've worked out what your preferences are, where your lane is. You joke about you're not going to. One of the first whiskies that you got into was Glenmorangie La Santa. You used to have half a dozen bottles at the worst because you always wanted to have it on hand and share it and pour it. They're gone now. You've moved on considerably further, and now you're much more selective in what you buy. Super interesting, right? But you're
yeah,
admitting, and it's refreshing to hear it, that actually because you enjoy it, because you enjoy finding the bottles that you love, you're probably going to try and tick it. But I know that if there's somebody that sends me a message saying, "Oh my goodness, you see this price?" There's a good chance it's Seve. So the prices are shocking you now as well, right?
yeah. It's crazy. Like I can't believe some of the prices for, like, the thing for me is that I say this too. I'm very fortunate that I've a reasonably good relationship with certain purveyors and things like that as well, from just being kind of friends and going in and chatting. And like I think more people should get on board with this. Go into your local purveyor and like speak to them,
Absolutely. Yeah.
evangelize about the whiskey, like talk to them about the things that you like. And as I said, I've been very lucky, but sometimes I've actually forgotten what I was going to say.
Well, I tell you what, it's not always the best advice, buddy, because in the last half a dozen occasions that I've gone into the Good Spirits Company, just sometimes to borrow some empty bottles for the tasting and things, I've come out with more bottles because you do get engaged in discussion. You get too caught and you end up going, "Ooh," and okay, that's a good one to talk about. Can I have that one, please? So, I mean, it's good to go to your it's good to support the indies. Absolutely, absolutely, it's fantastic, and you do get a lot of value out of it. But if you are trying to curb your spending,
Yeah,
it's
mad.
it's not going to be, because it is super super tempting. So,
Like that new bottle that you may or may not try tonight that I won't kind of spoil for everyone, but that is a prime example because it for me has a massive hook and it's a great.
this is when we are. I constantly talk about this. I am not here to sell or promote whiskey, right? I'm here to enjoy the consumption and the shared experience that whiskey brings, and we are joint enablers, right? So you'll hear a message from me, and I get a message back from you saying that this is definitely a good one to go for, and the next thing you know, it's delivered at the door. So I'll uncork a bottle later tonight, Seb, and it'll be a neck pour only, buddy. But it's a Seve recommendation, so let's see how that dynamic works out. Okay. Richard Agnew is asking if you have samples in your drawers. Absolutely, it seems like he does.
Too many, Richard.
Aye, too many. So we're going to see. It's refreshing that you're a realist. You know what's going to happen next year, buddy. You're not on a curfew tonight. You've already hinted that you can stay till the quiz at the end, right?
Yeah, I pretty much should, as long as my battery's fine. I was just joking about my battery. It's more my earbuds because we're out in the sticks here. So,
oh, remember, all you need to participate in the quiz, you don't even need sound if your earbuds do that. It's just an A, B, and a C. And remember that Menno is at the helm tonight.
Oh, it's going to be tough.
Strap in. It's going to be good fun, buddy. Seve, for the last 5 years and beyond, and for your friendship, buddy, and for your honesty. Cheers to you.
Cheers, Roy.
Great to see our ball of energy, Seve, looking and sounding so well. It's fantastic to have him around. Seve, for me, was one of the characters, if not the character, that made the tasting that we did a couple of weeks ago on the Sunday. He was up for everything. His energy was high, positive, engaging. Everyone, great fun to have around as well. Helen's with us saying, you've let us down on a recommendation, Roy. It might happen one day, Helen, but I hope you'll let me know about it if it does. And Chris Brown is in. 5 years, Roy. It's fantastic, Chris. Good to have you here. He's saying, congratulations. On topic, I just realised I bought your Loch Lomond bottle and just shoved it in the cupboard. It's open now. Slant you, Chris. Tell us what you think of it. I hope you're enjoying it. Fantastic. That happens to me sometimes. You buy something and then suddenly it gets caught up in other things and you forget that it's there. You do a tidy up and you find it and you're like, when did I buy this? But that's a good one, Chris. Falsgraph is saying, I have samples only from participating in online tastings. I know, but when you get involved in clubs and communities and friends and things, and they bring samples and because of the sharing, because of that kind of joint experience that whiskey is. Jimmy Legg is saying, oh, he's a ball of something, Aquaviti. Talking about Seve. Absolutely. Let's go right into our next guest, number 2 tonight. I was trying to work out if this guy had been on live the vPub before, and I think he has been on for just maybe once for a wee game of Visit Speyside. But I want to bring in fact, I'll bring him in, and then I'll share the anecdote with everyone. Jez, how are you, my friend? Good to see you, Jez.
Hello, everybody.
Oh, you're quite quiet. But it's okay as long as we can hear you. Jez,
yes.
Welcome to the vPub. It's nice to have you on. You might have been on for a wee game of Visit Speyside before, but this is the first time I've had you on for a proper chat. Can I share a wee anecdote? I might have shared it before. You know the one I'm going to share. 5 years ago, when
is it one? Go ahead.
Yeah, 5 years ago when the vPub started, of course I didn't have any kind of financial support or anything. Jez is emailing saying you need to monetize this, you need to get support, build Patreon, I'll be your first patron. And I was nervous. I didn't know about all of those things back then. But Jez was one of the encouraging voices. And I did finally, in 2018, I finally launched Patreon. And Jez was, I think you were beaten by seconds by one other person. You were true to your word and you jumped on board. And you've been there ever since, Jez. It's fantastic. I cannot, when I talk about this bottle accumulation, if I didn't do the channel, if I didn't do this for a living, if this wasn't what I loved so much, clearly I wouldn't have all these bottles. But also, if it wasn't for support from you, who knows where I would have been, talking about the same bottles every week, talking about bottles I could get given to me for free, talking about all of I don't know how it would have shaped up. You and so many others like you, buddy, have defined what the vPub has become. And it's amazing. The reason it's still here after 5 years is because of that. So before we even get started, Jez Batty, thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you, Roy. Thank you. I mean, I clearly remember encouraging you, but obviously the hard work that you've put in can't be taken away from you and the community that is built around it. And I raise my glass to your 5 years, and may we have 50 more. Cheers.
Fantastic. I'll take 50 years, buddy. Absolutely. Cheers. Okay, I suspect now we haven't discussed this. This is going to be fresh. So if we do view this as a wee bit of a confessional tonight, we've got no idea what's happening here. But you moved fast, Jez. You quickly, because of the company you were keeping, the London Whisky Club, where you are in the world, you moved very, very fast and refined your. This is my opinion. This is just me speaking. You refined your palate very, very quickly, and you seemed to get yourself in a place that you knew the type of bottles that you wanted. Does that mean that Jez doesn't really buy much in the way of official distillery bottlings these days, or do you still find core range whiskies that you enjoy?
If you would let me indulge and tell a story, a little bit of background. So I have a British uncle who got me my first dram of whiskey in 2003. I was 23 when I had my first dram. And then a friend, after a birthday drinks, gave me a whiskey tasting in 2016. And then I started watching YouTube and saw Rolfy talk about Glasgow Whiskey Club, and I watched probably from day one. I don't know if you remember, he used to have like a cabinet behind him.
Yes.
His very, very early videos.
Yes.
And then I think that I got the idea of kind of maybe starting a club and sharing whiskey, because I was buying the numbers you talked about early with Seve, about 100 bottles a year.
Yep.
That was way too much. I'm an accountant by profession. I thought surely there should be a better way of sharing the cost and sharing the whiskey.
Yep.
So I started the club, and you remember we started this London Whiskey Club in your chat. Mikey Hayes here in the chat. I saw him earlier today. Mikey Hay and
Shiv and Jason and
James Hope came
yes,
along, and that's how it started. And I mean, to answer your question directly, whether I've some sort of like become some sort of snob or somebody who's kind of moved on very quickly, it's nothing like that. It's more about being exposed to so much whiskey through the club and through sharing whiskey with good friends. I remember James Hope and I were swapping bottles with each other. He would take 6 of my bottles, I would take 6 of his bottles. It wasn't like you have to have a dram out of it. We were just giving each other bottles for the love of whiskey. We were sharing bottles, and he would drop me 6 and I would drop him 6, and that's how it got started, basically. But shout out to you, because we started the London Whiskey Club out of this live chat. I mean, it wasn't called the vPub, as you said, from very beginning. I mean, obviously, WinPF beat me to become your first Patreon, but I still remember I was the first person to give you super chat.
And these things are important. These
It
things are
is.
important. Listen, as long as we can always have a chuckle about it, I'll always be super, super grateful. And I'll never tire of bragging about the fact that so many clubs, Jez, honestly, have been born out of the live chat inside the vPub. It's amazing to see. But as far as I understand it, the London Whisky Club was the first, and it's good to see it remain super strong and going to strength after strength. First super chat, there you go. That's back in the days. I can't even remember that, but terrific. For that, I'll thank you. Thank you for your dram. Jez, you will admit confessional time. Just
of course.
Tell us how many bottles in 2022 does Jez Batty have in his collection?
I probably did an inventory, like I made a spreadsheet in 2018-19, and I had at that time about 120, 130 bottles open and about 230 bottles closed.
Significant.
So
yep.
400 bottles in 2017, 18.
Yes. Yep.
18, 19, sorry. And since then, because due to my work, I made a spreadsheet and then obviously added the numbers. And I just refused to do it since then because the numbers at the bottom of the spreadsheet tells me stop buying Jez.
Yeah.
I think my collection would probably be similar to Seve's, around 450, 500.
Wow. How many do you consume in a year, Jez?
If you allow me to say, excluding whiskey drunk outside the house, particularly at home, I would say about 3 to 5 bottles a year. I'm not a very good drinker at home alone.
Wow.
I distinctly remember, I finished 5 bottles in total at my house. Glenfarclas 15, Macallan 12, the old bottling, Springbank 15, Balwinnie Doublewood, and what was the 5th?
So these what's happening, I think, with you?
Bunnahabhain 12.
Bunnahabhain 12. So these are all kind of distillery bottlings. These are widely available products back then. But what's happening with you is that you live in a place that you're privileged. You're very fortunate to be able to get access to bottles living in London, right? So you can get a hold of really, really good stuff. But you're also living in a populous area where you've created a whiskey club. There are venues, there are places, there are tastings, there are events constantly happening around you so that you don't perhaps need to drink at home. But that's astonishing. Jez, what are you going to do with 500 bottles? At the current rate of consuming maybe 3 or so a year, let's round it up to 5 a year. We're looking at 100 years of whiskey you have. That means that the next question I'm going to ask you is almost answering itself. Surely. What's going to happen to Jez's purchasing in 2023 and beyond, do you think?
I do use my bottles for the club tastings, and I do sort of gift friends bottles. I think they will be drunk or used, or something will happen to them. I'm trying to avoid going on auctions and looking. I've never been on auction, and try avoiding to get into auction. But I'm never going to say I won't sell a bottle. Maybe in future I will one day, but it's not something.
This is not.
Hopefully, this is not the client leash.
An example of this is a very dusty bottle. I'll use my glasses cleaning cloth for this. Just as an example of Jez's generosity, this was Jez and James Hope that gifted me actually not this exact bottle, but the reason that this is still on my shelf is because they gifted me one of these back in 2018. I would guess 2019. Do you remember, Jez?
Yeah.
So it meant that this one could be preserved, but the one that you and James gifted me, you might remember I shared that at the gathering that we had in 2019. I opened it at that gathering, that tasting. You're absolutely true to your word. You do gift bottles, and I'm very, very grateful that you do, I have to say. So even if you were to gift like a maniac, even if you were the most generous whiskey gifting person out there, you can't. Are you going to continue buying 100 bottles a year in 2023?
No, I think it's difficult. I have bottles everywhere in the house, in unimaginable places, even in my office. So I have cut down a lot, and friends come over and bring bottles, and some of them sort of leave them with me. I think I'm blessed. I'm truly blessed to have access to a lot of whiskey and enjoy it because of friendship, because of friends like yourself and everybody that's in the chat. Is we have so much and others have so much. I think the whole ethos of whiskey is it's better shared, and when we are able to share with friends, then it tastes even better. Yeah.
Well, so you've got a hell of a lot of sharing ahead of you, buddy. A hell of a lot of sharing.
Yeah.
I think it's cute. I think that if I know you, if I know Jez, you're gonna still be curious about new things, because that's actually what we love to share. That's what we love to experience, the new experiences together. The next epiphany, the next event whiskey, the next unique thing, the next thing that we've never tried before. That is going to be that's still going to drive you. It's still going to be a challenge for you in 2023, I think. But I think if you're mentioning storing it in unimaginable places around the house, then that's that real estate playing into it as well. You've got your spreadsheet there to tell you those numbers at the bottom, so that you're building, it's that awareness is there. I think there's an inevitability that the spending that we've seen in our community generally over the last, 2 years, 5 years, however you want to measure it, I think it cannot sustain unless the community grows, unless there's new people coming in. The clubs are doing a great job. The events are doing a great job. I wonder what the producers are doing. The bottles that you mentioned, the Balvenie Doublewood, have been having 12. They're still around, and they're still fairly accessible prices relative to other whiskies. But Jez, back when you were buying those, you'd have been able to pick those up for £30, £35. They're now 40 and 45. And at that price, that access point, that barrier to entry is getting more challenging. And if we want to grow more people coming into whiskey, I think it's becoming more difficult as time goes on, definitely. Can we raise a wee glass? Can we raise a wee glass to friendship, to clubs, to bullying and encouragement for things to happen, and for working out ways for it to all come good in the end? Our friend Jimmy Jazz in the States is saying cheers, Roy and Jez. Cheers to Jimmy. Jez, cheers to you in the club. Cheers, my friend.
Cheers.
Please stay till the quiz.
Before I head out, in spirit of sharing, if anyone wants to join the London Whisky Club and is in the chat today, you could have a free membership because you are subscribers of Roy for until May 23. So if you drop us an email on the London Whisky Club at gmail.com.
Use voucher code ROY 2022 for a free London Whisky Club membership to take you through till May.
For the next 6 months.
Fantastic, buddy. Fantastic. And remember, there's a lot of Jimmy Jazz is a member of the London Whisky Club, and he lives in the Northeast USA. If you figure that just you might be in and out of London 2 or 3 times a year, like myself, having all those guys down there to be able to hook up with whatever you're doing is
Yeah,
super.
we have members from all over the world who come and stop by and share whiskey with us.
Brilliant stuff, my friend. Please stay till the quiz at the end.
Thank you, Roy.
Cheers,
Thank you.
Batty. Thank you so
Cheers.
much. Cheers. There we go. Thanks, Jimmy. Thank you very, very much. I've missed a couple of super chats. I don't want to let them disappear. Let's see. It's David Hong who's saying, Roy, another interesting vPub. I also have far too many bottles and cannot consume them in this lifetime. I have to say that you'll probably hear me admitting, David, a wee bit later in the stream tonight, that I'm in a very, very similar situation. It's just the way it works out when whiskey gets its hooks into you, I think. Cheers, David. Thanks for your dram. And I've also got Tony Nelson. Congrats on 5 years. It's been great journeying with you. 194 bottles, 256 with the duplicates, 56 open, buy rate, finish rate, building retirement stash. Okay, fantastic, Tony. Can I also say, as we know, he's congratulating me in 5 years, but as you and I know between us, Tony, that very, very first vPub on Thanksgiving in 2017, you were there, my friend. So happy Thanksgiving to you. And here's to 5 years. And thanks for being there, Tony. Cheers. Wonderful stuff. Kevin Grant on Whiskey saying, hey, late to the party and got you in the background is heading home. I'll catch up with the chat later. Missed your total. No, you've not missed it yet. I haven't shared it. And Kevin can come over here potentially this weekend if he wants. I'm seeing Craig and Moira tomorrow night. So if you're there, buddy, you can do a numbers count and verify that I'm telling the truth or not. Whiskey Weekend Dram. Harrow is saying, time for a dram. Have a nice evening, Barflies. Time for a dream, not a dram. Harrow over there in Europe. Yeah, you're in the Netherlands, I think, Harrow, aren't you? Catching an early bed. Harrow, it's wonderful to have you in, buddy. Thanks you. And Drew from Arizona saying, greetings, Roy. Just made it back home and able to catch you live. Drew, of course, we were able to hang out together in Glasgow. Who could have dreamt such a thing could happen? Ryan Sutherland is saying auctions are my worst habit right now, and the bottles are building up, but it's a great source for old blends. Lots of intriguing bottles to chase at low prices. How are you finding the auction prices, Ryan? Are they staying high? Are they increasing? Are they softening? Time for a Dram Gregor is saying, congrats on 5 years. You've created quite the amazing corner of the Whiskeyverse on YouTube, and we are all the richer for it. My whiskey journey has benefited tenfold from being a disciple. Gregor, my whiskey journey has benefited tenfold from being able to call you a pal. Brilliant to have you in and saying such positive words as well, buddy. Looking forward to seeing you here in a couple of weeks' time. All right, let's jump in to our next. We're going to go over to Austria now. We're going to go, surely, you've seen this fella before. If you haven't seen him, you'll have certainly seen him, and he's here absolutely most weeks. It's a very atypical vPub. If Maxx Kreitner isn't joining us, he's usually on the sofa next to Christina, but he's on the sofa himself tonight. Welcome in, Max. Welcome behind the vPub.
Welcome.
It's always brilliant to see you. We had a special thing happen in 2022 for the first time, buddy, didn't we?
Yes.
You've been here from almost the beginning. You've been here a long, long time. But in 2022, you and I were able to share drams, train rides, whiskey festivals, laughs, belly laughs, tears.
Limburg, yes.
Moments. Yes.
Really looking forward to next year, actually.
Are we doing it again next year?
Sure. Why not?
Let's do it again next year. Let's do it just for the train, right? Just for the fun.
Yes.
For all of it. Yeah. And that's kind of the downtime. It's the in-between times, the negative space, if you like, not really when you're hanging over a table drinking all these amazing whiskies, but when you're just sitting eating together, talking and just enjoying the downtime together. It's
in the evening, sitting together, sharing the drams you bought during the day.
Yes.
And really telling stories, laughing. It's just the best.
It's the best. It's absolutely the best kind of fun. And maybe one day I'll be able to bully you into coming over to Glasgow and doing it here in Scotland.
Well, Max, latest at my 50th, so
yeah. If I was to draw things back a wee bit, I'm jealous now because I can see that bottle of Arran 14 winking over your right shoulder there.
I'm nursing it.
You have clearly got a cookie trail of whiskies behind you there. You strike me, Max, as somebody who's very deliberate. You're very careful. You're very considered. And if you buy a bottle of whiskey, it feels like to me with Max's purchases, everyone is a celebration. Would that be accurate?
Yeah, that's pretty accurate. It's not in the beginning because you try things and so on, but after a certain amount of time, when you broke in a few bottles and so on, then yes. Especially when I found out about independent bottlings, then all hell broke loose.
Yes.
So
And you're in a community where it's easy for that to happen.
yeah,
When we find a good one, we tell everyone, this is a cracker.
yeah, and Dreamface doesn't make it easier.
Yes,
have
I
to
know
say.
brown faces. Everything is all part of the problem. We're all, but I think what you're talking about there, we're all kind of getting together and we're encouraging and we're enabling each other. But I think we're driving each other to value engagement, quality, integrity, experiences. We're good at picking out the stuff that's good when we work together, right? We're crowdsourcing the quality discovery, right?
But that's also reflected in my collection, because you all influence each other, of course,
Yes.
and in the end, it's like a fine sieve. Only the best bottles come out at the end. So and
That's the way
reflected.
to do it. That's the
Yeah.
careful, considered, measured Max. That's what I'm talking about. Talking about your collection being influenced by that. Confession time.
Yeah.
Would you consider yourself a whiskey botherer? And how many bottles do
Yes.
you have?
I have 156 bottles at the moment.
Wow. Max, that's more than when I was over there.
Yes, it's got a little bit more, and it's I have months, 2 or 3 months a piece that I won't buy anything. I won't buy it. It's enough. It's enough. And then I buy 5 bottles in one go. It's yeah. Especially when reviews come out from certain people on YouTube or homepages like Dreamface, and then
Yeah. And I think what we have to do is we have to, when we read sites like Dramface or when we listen to these, I can't imagine who you're talking about when you talk about YouTube. We have to remember that it's with best intentions and not everything is a must buy. But even if you can't or don't or decide not to buy on that occasion, through listening, you've processed a bit more of information and learned a little bit more how
Yeah.
to refine the next purchase, right? When you do have the time and
Exactly,
the mood and
yes.
moment. So it's lots of it is context, because let's be honest, a lot of the reviews on Dramface are unicorns, not available anymore, discontinued. Maybe they're too expensive. So it's a lot of vicarious reading, but every article has got something of value for us to process and use in a real life whiskey applications, right?
Yeah, but it comes over the years, because over the years you listen to certain people like you or Seve and so on, and you get to know those people and know what taste they have, what they
Yes.
like, and you can somehow process that to your own taste, and then you know that's probably something I would like to, or nah, not for me. So yeah, and that's how it slowly builds up to a certain collection. But I'm almost really full in my stash now. I think 160 is the maximum I can go in terms of space, and then because I don't want to have any bottles on the
So you've
floor.
got space for 4 bottles, Max. Space for
Yes.
4 bottles. So I remember you showing me, and there was actually a bottle on the floor when I was there with you.
More
You
than
said,
one,
"Look."
actually, but they moved
Yeah.
to a different shelf.
Okay, you've moved it. I remember you saying, look now, and that we had the discussion about physical space.
Yeah.
And I joked with you that, well, when that happens to me, I need to go out and buy another shelving unit, right? And now I'm at the point there is no more space for any more shelving. I'll show you a picture. I'll put this up again at the end, Max, but just to show you what I'm talking about here. This is the blurred. I used a blurred out version of this for the thumbnail today, but that's what far too many IKEA shelving units look like. Now, somebody might hear me talking like this and show that picture and think that it's showing off. That's not why I'm doing this. I am showing this because if you are going to listen to me and my opinions about whiskey, you need to know that I am trying and buying these whiskies first with my own money.
Yeah.
And this is the cookie tray. If you go down this route, this is the inevitable accumulation, whether it's 156 bottles on Max's shelves or significantly more than that. I will share at the end what I've just shown you there, the actual count there. That's what you end up with. Whiskey is a compelling thing. You've heard Jez talking about how compelling it is to share and swap. You heard Seve talking about how much it is for him to share swap, especially when he understands and defines what he loves. Your scattergun, though, Max, you like enjoying all flavors, right?
Pretty much, yes. Also, I'm not usually one that buys more than one bottle of a special whiskey. It has to be really special that I buy more than one.
Yes.
I think 3 bottlings that I have 2 bottles of. That's an Arran.
Tell us what
12,
they are.
Arran 12 from a Tokai cask.
Okay, fantastic.
Then that's Dramface Orkney bottling from
Oh, wow,
Signatory.
okay, yes, yep.
And the latest one is a Glen Scotia single cask from a special Vienna edition from fully matured in Bordeaux casks.
So you know that that's on a limited life. You're not going to be able
Yes.
to buy it again. You know you love it, so it's connected with you, so you bag another one.
Exactly. But other than that, I try to get something that I didn't have yet.
Yes, yes, of course. You are more canny and more measured than most, I have to say. You're more considered. What do you think's going to happen to that spending in 2023 for Maxx Kreitner?
I think it will probably be a bit less because the usual suspects in terms of independent bottlers are getting more and more expensive. My favorite independent bottler is gone next year. As you know, Cadenhead will close down.
That's a shame.
And the other ones I usually like, that's Single Cask UK, Signatory and Claxton's. That's some of my favorites. They are getting a bit steep in their pricing. So, yeah, it will.
They're all suffering from the cost of the casks.
Yeah.
Especially mature whiskey. It's so expensive right now. And that's reflected in the prices that we see on the shelves. It's not, I don't think it's that independent bottlers have really decided to suddenly get super rich super quick. The prices that we're seeing through, especially these small indies that you mentioned, Claxton's as an example and things, it's a direct reflection of what it's costing them to source the product.
Yeah, but if you have a 11-year-old whiskey, that's of course single cask, but you have to pay over €100 for it. Not for me.
Absolutely understood. Absolutely understood. So that's, I don't need to ask you what's driving that. It's price for you. Space.
Yeah.
A wee bit of space, but you get space before. But price. Yeah.
Yeah, it has to be worth it, actually.
Yeah.
So but right now I'm eyeing a Loch Lomond that's coming out, also as a Vienna edition. That's, I think, 9 years old, but for €70. So it can be done cheaper.
So even Max is tempted. We talk about him being considered and measured and not easy to sway, but there's things he's got his eye on as well. And
of course, there is a list of nice to haves. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, maybe if you are canny next year and you do manage to save a wee bit more money and you only fill those 4 spaces and don't start stacking up on the floor, you can use the money towards getting over to the UK for one of the gatherings here, buddy, and that would be amazing. But if it doesn't happen, let me commit, more or less commit, to Limburg next year. I would love to go.
I need people to come over that help me to empty some of the stuff.
Hey, fantastic. Max, stay till the end, please, won't you, buddy?
Of course.
And listen, all the very best to Christina. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.
Maxx Kreitner. I knew when he was coming on that it was going to be impulse buying, and Max isn't really a thing. He knows and he considers, or let's say it's rare for Max. He's considered about everything that he buys. See you at Limburg, Roy Fastgraf. We got to enjoy each other's company last year, buddy, and it would be a pleasure to see the man in the hat again next year. Fantastic stuff. Arran, it's been great to see you live. It's great to see Max live. All right, let's move over to our next barfly. I've just mentioned her, actually. She just happens to be next up. Luna is, again, another person that I feel like has been around since the beginning. And I also suspect that she's going to be a wee bit different with the answers that she puts forward to the confessional questions. Let's bring in Luna in Germany. How are you, Luna? You're muted. Unmute yourself, please. That was potentially a swear word there.
It was a swear word. Thank God I was muted.
Welcome behind. Now, you have been on before. I know we've played a game of Visit Speyside before.
Exactly,
You've been behind the bar at the vPub, but it's always a pleasure. I remember the first time we met, actually, and you hadn't been on the vPub, and it was over in Germany. It was Whisky, I think, if my memory serves well.
I think it was 2017.
Could it have been that long ago? Oh my goodness.
I think, or
2017, maybe 2018. Doc would know. Doc
would know. Yeah.
He keeps track of things much better than we do, potentially. But that was fantastic. And of course, we got to meet again earlier this year too. You heard the gauntlet being laid down there. We're talking about Limburg again next year, Luna. Maybe we could make it again. What do you think?
Cross my fingers. I hope I can be there. I would love to be there. It's not far away, so it's an easy journey for me. Not like flying in from Vienna or Glasgow or anything. I take a train. And
well, I've got a way of thinking about that. And of course, there are long haul flights that are really difficult and tiring and challenging. But if you're going to take a journey, if you're going to step on a train or a plane and step off again, it's just a question of how much time you spend on that moment of the journey. You've still got to do all the other things at the other side. So for me, it's if the cost is there, if I can get flights for reasonable money and things, and the hotel isn't so expensive, it wasn't at the start of this year, who knows what it's going to be like next year, then that would be amazing, because Limburg is a very, very good whisky fair.
Absolutely agree.
Are you, Luna Arran, are you a whisky botherer?
I'm a whisky caretaker, I think.
There we go. So there's a whole new whisky caretakers. I think that's quite a nice way of looking at it, actually. As long as we take care of the whisky in a way that is responsible, I suppose, and that we can still enjoy it and share it and everything. So whisky caretaker, that's a new collective now. There we go.
I'm happy with geek and nerd and anything, but here we go.
Yeah. Whisky caretaker.
Yeah.
Are you ready? Can you confess, what has whisky done to you over the years of geeking out about whisky?
A lot of education. I think a lot of education going on in terms of knowing about production processes, knowing about casks and chemistry and all these things that I was initially not really interested in. So different fields of interest, and of course community and people, meeting people from all over the world, meeting people from all kinds of different backgrounds, be it in a whiskey club here locally, or in the German whiskey community, or in the international community that actually you created, very much so. So those basically are the two things I think that whiskey brought to my life, meeting new people in middle age, like you said before.
Yes.
And that you might have not met if it wasn't for whiskey.
Only one of us on the stream tonight looks middle-aged here, Luna, and it's not you. Okay.
Thank you very much.
So
I have grey hair. You see here? Yeah.
I know you're just showing off.
Yes.
Yeah, I would take care of any colour, believe me. I mean, I think it is. There's lots of these, and I think when we started out exploring our whisky journey, we didn't appreciate the other incidental things that it could bring. That it could bring community, friendship. It could bring knowledge, and it could bring a curious interest. It's a good point that you make. Production. I never thought I would care about how we mash cereals, how we ferment cereal. I didn't think I would care about distillation and how it affects what we taste. And it's fascinating to think that suddenly I'm interested in things that probably, if I didn't know the context, I would have been pretty bored thinking about, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I was just reading an article about how casks are created, which kind of molecules are in wood, and what charring does to that. I would never have thought of reading that stuff before I got into whiskey, honestly.
Yeah.
No way.
And here you are talking to some guy in Glasgow while there's 260 odd people in watching and listening as well. It's incredible.
That's absolutely incredible. And that we have the technology to bring that together, but that there is also kind of respect towards each other, to treat each other just kindly and nicely. That's not very common in YouTube, I think, or in
and
the
mutual
internet world.
respect.
Yeah.
The idea of being inclusive and accepting and just seeing people for people rather than everything else, all the things that divides us. Absolutely.
Exactly.
The thing that I've loved that the channel has brought over the recent years. Okay, confession time, Luna.
Okay, not so much to confess. A bit more than Marcus, I think. I haven't counted. I estimated, because I have one cabinet and that's full, around 200 bottles, I think. 200.
Are we talking 200 sealed, or are we talking most open?
40% open, I think. 40% open.
How many bottles do you consume, Luna, in a year?
I go with Jazz. I think it's less than 10.
Wow. So if you stop right now, you've got 2 decades of whiskey.
Yeah.
Easily.
But I share out a lot. So I send whiskey around Germany. So if I get talking to people on Zoom meetings, and they have something that I don't have, and vice versa, we just send out samples. So samples are a problem. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Big problem. I did not count again, but I don't use the D word because people will be making fun of me. But I think 350 samples to 400 samples.
Yeah. Well, I didn't count anything that wasn't a full bottle of whiskey, and
but
that's right.
But samples are a huge problem. I think I've stopped ordering samples and stopped splitting bottles because impossible. Yeah. I don't have the room, and
listen, there's going to be lots of people coming into the community that's thinking that's an amazing problem to have. Understand that when you do get involved in whiskey, you do understand that one of the biggest things about it is the generosity of folk, and they do like to share the stuff.
Yeah.
And it's inevitable that when you get involved in community and building up relationships and networks and things, that the samples just start to flow. I'm the same as you, Luna. I've had to slow down because we have to look after our health.
Absolutely.
And we all want to taste all of these things, but you have to pick your battles. You have to know the whiskies that you can enjoy and taste, and the ones for me are the ones to talk about. What do you think what you will do, Luna, in 2023?
I think I definitely buy less. Definitely, because I already have so much, I'd say. So I buy things that I can taste beforehand, and I buy exceptional bottles. What I will do, though, is rebuy things that I like, things that are always in the cabinet.
That's interesting, yeah.
But I have in 12, Glencadam 10, Loch Lomond 12, I wrote down a few, Bòcan, things like that. And actually, the only thing that I stashed up on was also Arran 14.
I'm out now. My Arran 14 is finally gone. There was only a wee dribble left. I wasn't being fair to it. I just had to take it away and finish it. And I miss it dearly. They are bringing it back again, but not anytime soon. And it's going to be a couple of years of waiting before that 15-year-old comes back again. It can't come quickly enough, and I hope it's every bit as good as the last time.
I think it will taste quite differently because I prefer the old Arran 10 to the new one. That's just my taste.
A wee bit lighter, a wee bit more spirit forward, a little bit more cask influence. That's right. Whereas the modern Arrans is making use of a much more active cask. They've got more money to spend on cask. The casks have gone up. So it would be nice if Arran could bring out a product that was a wee bit more spirit forward. I agree. And one of the things we liked about that 14 was its balance, its lovely, delicate balance. So it wasn't cask led. And at 14 years, it wasn't too spirity either. It was just that perfect balance. I hope somebody at Arran is listening. Not that they can change anything, but if we could, you never know. Excuse me, Gillian Rickman has bought a wee dram to say thanks for the 5 years of the vPub, and thanks for helping me understand my stash isn't as big as I thought it was, and it still has space for those must-haves. Great content tonight. Thanks, Julian. Thank you very, very much. I'm glad I'm helping you feel better. Listen, remember what I said at the start. There's going to be people out there with really modest collections, and people out there with lots and lots of bottles and things. It's not one size fits all. It's very, very different. The people I'm speaking to tonight Luna's got 200 bottles sitting there. That's accumulated over the recent, over years and years. Absolutely.
Exactly. And I just have to say, in the local whiskey club that I'm in, there are people who have huge collections and people who are actually in retail and organize whiskey fairs and things like that. And then we have people who also, because of monetary reasons, just don't have the newest, biggest, brightest, flashiest thing. And when we meet, there is always a distillery on as a topic, and people bring bottles for this distillery. And then you have regular bottles, core range products, and you
Yes.
have exclusive, super single cask bottles, and everybody shares. And there is a club bottle that we buy every month from donations, and everybody donates as much as they can. And nobody takes record of who is paying what. And nobody takes record of who is bringing what.
It's exactly the same when we did the bottle share a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
You know, some people, I was encouraging people to write their names so that they could, if anybody had questions about it, but that was the only reason is that so they could write the name of the bottle who brought this kind of thing. And the range of bottles that you see, there's no caveats with it. It doesn't come with conditions. Just enjoy it. It's the only thing, right?
Exactly, yeah.
Luna, I'm excited that we might manage a wee trip to Limburg. But
that
in the
would be
meantime,
lovely.
I'm going to bully you into, hopefully you can stay till the quiz at the end. Menno will be backstage busying away some typical...
Oh, yeah, failing miserably.
But we have to fail miserably, because then people realise that we're all just enthusiasts. Even when we've got 200 plus bottles on the shelf, it still means that we can easily slip on a Menno banana skin. Luna, thank you so much. Thanks for everything. Thanks for bringing your smiling face once more, and I look forward to seeing you next year.
Thank you very much, Roy. Take care.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Luna Arran over in Germany. Fantastic. What great fun she is as well when we travel together too. Thanks, Julian. Thanks very much for your dram. Terrific stuff. There's 2 more people to speak to. I've got 1 more to speak to in terms of my 5th person. And this guy has been around from the very, very beginning. He is an amazing spirit. He's an amazing person. He's generous. He's kind. He's wonderful to be around. He's just good fun. We joke that it's not a real event unless this guy is there. He was the first ever barfly because he created the Barflies Facebook page. Him and Era, I often joke, Era McFault are the original barflies. They arrived in Glasgow. I think that could have been 2017, 2018, before any of this really existed or was fully formed. I'm going to welcome in my pal from Norway. I'm going to welcome in Rolfy. We often know you as Ebbhead. I have joked that sometimes you're just in as Rolf. Sometimes you remember that you were once upon a time the Whiskey Wolf, I think, and then the name was too long, and eventually, so we know you as just Rolfy or Ebbhead. Welcome, buddy. This cannot be the first time you've been in the vPub behind the bar.
I think I did the is it the Space Ad once?
Good,
That's all.
good.
Yeah. Yep.
Fantastic. Fantastic. So we have had you before, but this is the first time we've had you as a chat, and it's nice to have you in uniform as well. Rolfy.
Good to be here. Yep.
Was I exaggerating? I think you are one of the... It seems like if I look at photos of any event that there's ever been, regardless of where it is, and anywhere in Europe, Rolf is there.
I think this year was very special because I feel I said yes to everything, and I think I traveled 6 times this year for whiskey related stuff. So
how many trips do you regret?
No one.
None.
No one. It's been fantastic. Yeah, it's so much fun meeting the people, and we're having so much fun, and
yes,
of course,
and it is incredible that it
well.
happens. As we talked about, for some of us, there's lots of younger people in as well. There's lots of folk that are older than us too, Rolfy, but for us, we're kind of reaching our middle age, and it's odd that we can meet friends. But we have met friends, because you pop up and you're at the London Whiskey Club, you're over in Germany with Doc, or you're meeting up with Era, and all of these people all over the place, these friendships, these connections. We're not talking about just somebody to hang out and talk whiskey. We're talking about genuine friendships, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
we need
it's
to
been amazing.
contextualize that when we talk about this cookie trail of bottles, that they represent more than just nice flavor experiences, right?
Yeah, it's no, as you said, I didn't expect to meet so many new friends at my age. I mean, I had my group of friends, and I was pretty happy with that. So yeah, so it's been a journey, yeah, for sure. So
I have to consider that journey and ask you over that journey. Are you a whiskey bother? Are you hoarding, Rolfy? Are you hoarding?
I think I have to say yes. I'm a whiskey botherer. I'm a hoarder. I suffer from FOMO. I suffer from everything, I guess. Yeah.
So if I was to ask you, I'm going to just try and read your expression. How many bottles has the FOMO botherer, exciter?
I didn't really get into whiskey before 2015. I think 15, yeah.
7 years ago.
So it's 7 years, and I did the bottle count the other day, and it was like close to 400 bottles actually.
Wow.
And I was kind of shocked. I knew I had more than 300, but I didn't know it was 400.
So genuinely, awareness has now kicked in, right?
Yeah.
And did you count? Did you count because I'd asked you to come on and share this?
No, I was just bored one day and just
of course
wanted to find out. Yeah,
let's count these bottles.
So it's it's 226 are open. So it's a fair amount open and 270 sealed. Yeah. So
that's getting closer to me because you're the first person that's come on, I think, with more open than sealed. I think that we've at least mentioned. I think.
No, I have 270 sealed and 126 open.
Oh, sorry. 126.
Yeah.
Okay.
The problem is that I don't finish bottles. They just,
yes.
I open new bottles and then I don't. I feel I drink more whiskey outside the home, like events, traveling, whiskey shows, whiskey festivals, at other visiting friends. So I don't tend to finish bottles.
I agree with you.
That's my problem.
I agree. I understand it completely. I think it's a reflection of what happened over the last 2 years of COVID. When people were at home, they were consuming a lot more, which meant that impacted their buying habits hugely. That was kind of forced on us. But under normal circumstances, we're getting back into that. As you say, you've traveled 6 times this year already. So suddenly it's less appealing to be at home because you're enjoying what you're consuming when you're away from home.
Yeah. And when you go to a whiskey festival and maybe you drink whiskey 3 days in a row, you feel like taking a break when you come home and maybe 2-3 weeks.
That's right. That's right. These weekend trips they take it out you and they make it very appealing for you to take a big break.
Yes.
And recover, recharge your palate and your energy levels as well.
Exactly.
And at least fortify it for the next one, right? What do you think then that's going to do? Because I imagine that 400 bottles comes with its storage issues. It's difficult to keep track. It's if you think you've got 300, you count you've got 400. Clearly, it's difficult to keep track. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen for Rolfy?
I live in a very small apartment in center of Oslo, so I have like one living room and a bedroom, and that's it. And I also have a small storage room where you can keep your suitcases and vacuum cleaner and stuff. This is now all whiskey. It's and also my cupboards, in the bedroom. I'm starting to use my clothes. What's it called? The wardrobe. Yeah. So it's space is a thing, yes, and also I think the current economic situation is also a little bit. I mean, cost of living is increasing, and I can certainly feel that as well. although I live alone and only have myself to think about. But still,
hence why you can fit 400 bottles in a single studio apartment, right? Absolutely.
So I think I will slow down a bit. I hope so, at least. So just go for bottles that are really, really special, or if there's some.
I was just about to say, so you've refined you've refined your selections. You know the things that you're going to probably going to want to enjoy.
Yeah,
and I think that's true for so many people. As long as we don't all converge on the same choice, right? It's nice for us to chase different things.
Also, I think the excitement, the joy of adding a new bottle to the collection, it's not as strong as before. I mean, just this morning I bought 2 Springbank bottles from the Swedish release. So I managed to steal a couple of bottles from the Swedes, but I did it just because I had the opportunity. I really didn't need it. I just feel a little bit guilty. I don't feel too much joy about it.
This is what it's for, because you know that you might not get another opportunity. You don't want to pass up the opportunity because it might not come as easy again for the Norwegian outturn or whatever it may be. You just don't know what's going to happen. Listen, I already confessed that I bought that Spar bottle of Springbank because it was there. And it's like, okay, this is too good. If I don't buy this bottle, sure, somebody else is going to get it. But there's every likelihood that they've already got some Springbank and they would be buying a backup too. So, and I think that Springbank 10 is also one of those benchmark whiskies that it's always good to have it there. This is how good a 10-year-old whiskey can be. It's certainly good to have. So I think, go ahead, Rolfy.
I think I need to have people coming over to Oslo so I can finish some bottles there.
That sounds like an invitation. And we won't all fit in a 1-bedroom apartment, right enough?
No,
we're going to need to find a good,
find some Airbnb close by or something. Yeah.
Nick Gascoigne from the chat is suggesting if Rolfy feels guilty about the Springbank, I can help alleviate his guilt. So there you go. Despite us talking heavily tonight about having so much, we need to remember the position that we have. It's a privileged position, Rolfy, but it's also built up over years. It's accumulation, and that needs to be remembered. We didn't all just go out in 6 months' time and collect 200 bottles of whiskey. It's come over time. It's come over pursuit of flavour, new experiences, the things that whiskey can offer us. We know that we are exceptions to this rule, right? We absolutely are exceptions in the community, even perhaps most of the time. But 400, I'm quite surprised, buddy. I'm quite surprised. How many do you consume, would you say, at home?
Yeah, I think we touched upon that because I don't drink too much at home.
Yeah.
I tend to bring some, if I have some left in some bottles, like some heels, I bring it to others when I invited somewhere.
Yeah.
I bring the bottles, so the bottles get killed that way.
Yep.
Yeah, usually, and also bring some bottles I brought some bottles to Rotterdam, and yeah.
So we both hope that we live a long time to come, right? But what we're both admitting, I think, is that we already have more whiskey than we need to see us through.
Yeah. So it's going to be a nice funeral for the people coming to.
For everyone else. That's one way to look at it. Fantastic. Buddy, I hope you can stay on a wee bit and join us for the quiz at the end. I hope you can.
Thanks for the 5 years, Roy. It's been a fantastic journey.
Oh, I want to say thanks to you. For me, buddy, it's an absolute privilege to have you around. I get excited for whiskey events generally, but if Rolfy's attending, it's going to be a good one always. Sláinte to you, buddy. And I'll see you in a wee moment.
Sure.
Ebbhead Rolf Isaacson over in Oslo. Fantastic. Okay, there's one more guy to speak to, but we can get him in a wee minute because we're going to tee up the quiz at the end. Seve mentioned this earlier. Seve's a bit of an enabler. He's a bit of an encourager, but he's been messaging and he talked about this interesting bottle that I'm going to uncork tonight. This is not a review. I always have to caveat these uncorkings. This was delivered Monday or Tuesday this week, so it's been here a wee while, so it's settled in. Shouldn't be suffering from any kind of bottle shock. I've got my last glass of the night, so I've clearly poured 5 drams as we've been chatting tonight. This is a Bòcan. Now, you've heard me talk about Bòcan in the past. Not often, I have to say. Bòcan is tomatin. It's peated tomatin, but they don't like to say that it's peated tomatin because the whole process, everything is different. So they don't just take the tomatin process and add some peated malt into the mix. This is a very different spirit. It's made in a different way for a different end purpose. So we now have a fairly heavily peated or a medium peated Highlander in the Bòcan range. The signature series and the special releases that they do are usually widely available and fairly priced, but this is a different animal altogether. First, just before I hold up the label, can we just appreciate the colour of this thing? It's absolutely gorgeous. And in the bottle, the way the bottle design works, the way that it reflects and refracts the light is just gorgeous. I should maybe put a light behind it to let you see that. But there's really not a lot of space on the bottle for labeling and information. It's a bit of a form over function bottle here. So there's not a lot to see, and it doesn't say anything about natural colour or non-chill filtered on a bottle. Fortunately, it does tell us that that's the case on the box. It says it on the front here, non-chill filtered natural colour. It's a 50% ABV. Nice, hefty, weighty alcohol in here. It's also interesting. Oh my goodness. Okay, that's quite distracting. It's also interesting that Bòcan tends to be non-age stated. There have been a couple of vintages out there over time, but the core range is certainly non-age statement. And this one has just come to market, fully matured in Oloroso sherry casks for 15 years. So this colour is explained. I put it to my nose there though. I just got really strong, thick tobacco and red strawberry laces. But it's a wee bit smokier. I expected the peat to be quite light, but there's a lot of smoke and peat in here. I think this is the first time I've actually had a peated dram tonight. Maybe that's exaggerating things a wee bit. Marmalade, thick. Dried orange peel, orange zest. But it's not fresh citrus. This is kind of cooked and zest and peel. Tobacco's strong. Dark chocolate. Okay, I'm just being very predictable. I know this is 15 years in ex Oloroso. But the thing that distracted me when I put my nose in is the weight of this here. This is a heavy thing. It's not dirty, I wouldn't go that far, but it's dark. It's almost menacing a wee bit. This is all about those sherry casks. The peat is in here, it's holding its own, but it's almost adding like a savoury, this is more of a kind of barbecue-y peat rather than an ashen or medicinal iodine type thing. This is aromatic peat. That's a good word. It's a good word to describe this kind of nose. Let's just go in, see how it is. Oh. Sherry casks, especially fully matured, can often be quite, I don't want to say simplistic, but it's an extreme example, and it's all kind of cask. This is not. This has got other things going on. This is first fill Oloroso, you would expect 15 years to be, the spirit is strong, the spirit is bold, the spirit's held together here, so there's complexity, there's different things going on. I can see how this is up Seve Street. I can see how he likes this. So there's a wee bit tannic, a wee bit tea, cold black tea, but sweet strawberry, fruit tea. Tobacco's in there again. The fruit is still kind of citric. There's lots going on in this wee glass of whiskey. There's a hell of a lot going on in this wee glass of whiskey. It does come with a caveat. This is £95. This is expensive whiskey. It's 15 years old, 50% ABV. It's high ABV. And it's a very rare thing to have that peat sherry experience done this, let's say 15 years fully matured and all the rest. So that's not common. So I'm not saying it's too expensive, but I hovered. I did. It was my curiosity that got the better of me. There are other peat sherry expressions out there that you can get that gives a similar experience. But I suspect once I get into this and interrogate this a wee bit more, I'm not sure if there's something available in the market right now that does it quite like this. At that price point. 50% ABV, and it's so integrated. It's part of the whiskey. That's quite amazing. It's quite amazing. Okay, before we get on to the quiz at the end, it's time for my confession. I know you've been waiting for long enough. Start of this year when we talked about open bottle syndrome, I was a wee bit woolly and I said to you, I've got about 500 bottles and I've got about 20% of them open. That was enough for me to talk about, 20% of them sealed. That was enough for me to talk about that topic back in April, because I have to talk about the channel. I've got to talk about what I do. I've got to talk about what I do for a living. I have to be buying these bottles, even when they're a nudge too expensive. Because if I do that and I taste these whiskies and I judge them and give them context and spend time with them and come back to you, certainly by the time it gets to recycled review, but way before that, I'll have used them in multiple vPubs potentially as examples. I'll have commented on them and I'll have potentially recommended them to people because I can contextualize that experience against lots of its peers, lots of other experiences that I have on the shelf here. If I was to talk about whiskey the way I do every Thursday night, but didn't have this collection, would you not be suspicious? How can somebody come to Roy and say, what do you think of Altavania, Roy? What do you think of Bòcan? What do you think of Kilkerran? I have to explore these things. I'm like Rolf, though. The inevitable end product of that is a huge accumulation, a huge cookie trail collection of open bottles that's difficult to finish. Like Rolf, I need people to come here and help me drink the whiskey through sharing. I need to take bottles to other people. Heels, full bottles, whatever it may be. Bottles that I'm enjoying that I think they might enjoy, whatever it is. But the way I can work out what is good is through that exploration. And I'm also very, very grateful to all of you because you allow me to buy it with my own money, so that there is no bias, in my opinion. If I don't like this whiskey, are the people from Bòcan and Tomatin going to suddenly not talk to me anymore? No, I don't think so. They know that I need to be able to give my honest opinion on all whiskies. And I also am grateful to you and your experience because you're out there doing the same thing. So when we both have a similar experience that's positive, negative, or somewhere in between, and it matches up and it lines up, that's super, super important. And it's affirming. That's what we're doing as a community. And it doesn't need sponsorship. It doesn't need partnership. It doesn't need affiliate links. And it doesn't need free stuff. I'm not judging anybody else that runs their output or their content or their opinion in any different way. That's the way I've chosen to do it here. And the inevitable byproduct of that is this. And I also am a whiskey botherer. I suffer from the same FOMO that you do. I suffer from the same things. I get to know what I love. I get to know what I want to have the reassurance of having more of. And inevitably, I end up accumulating more of that. But I use it as a benchmark to judge those other products that come out there. Graham Young has bought my wee dram. Well, I confess to be in full vacation mode. Let the bottle hoarding continue. Please don't judge too harshly, barflies. All ahead for 2023. Aye, Graham, thanks very much for your dram and your wise words too. Cheers. there is a huge risk that everything that we've talked about tonight is all about, look at all the whiskey that we have. There's a huge risk that depending on how you want to view it, the optics could be difficult, bad, awkward. What I'm trying to do is say, over the course of lockdown, things that were already causing us a problem, the Bottle Chasers live stream went out way ahead of lockdown. We were already having this issue. Now, it's exacerbated by lockdown. Our accumulation, our hoarding has become worse as a community. I think there's an inevitability that if you add in all the other factors like price, like the cost of living, all of these things, that there's going to be a softening next year. Look at the questionnaire at the end of the Oswas. I'll hopefully remember to link it below. But that tells you not from a sample of 5 people that I had in tonight. It's 5,000 people all saying, here are all the whiskies that I have. Here's what I'm going to do with my spending next year. I think potentially it could be tougher for producers, good quality producers like Tomatin and Bòcan, to sell this product for £95. I don't know if the quality stays like this, and if it doesn't continue to go higher. I have to be honest, if this broke £100, I would have not been interested. £95 is about as much as they could charge and still keep me interested. But let's remember, this is a 50% ABV, pretty special thing, 15 years in Oloroso. So, you know, there's indies out there that would charge potentially more than that for it. I'm enjoying the whiskey as well. I think that the inevitability is that the Whiskey Botherer will still be here in 2023. I think we will still continue our habits. I think we'll still continue to look for the next new experience, especially when there's so much choice coming all the time. But I think we're becoming much more refined. We're becoming a lot more canny, and we're becoming a lot more pragmatic because of the amount of accumulation that we have already amassed. If the forecasts going forward for whiskey generally are for it to continue on the incline that it's been on in recent years, and the pricing and the increase in the pricing is going to match that, I think there's trouble ahead. It's inevitable something has to give. In the meantime, as a community, if we all stand up together and say, I have these whiskies, I not only want to share these whiskies, I want to share the knowledge that's been imparted through me enjoying these whiskies. We want to get together and find out where the good stuff is. We don't need to worry about a softening of the market. We don't need to worry about the constant demand and the pressures because of what we do together as a community. Anyway, thanks to all my guests for joining tonight. I'm going to bring in my final guest, because if we can't have a community vPub without a Menno quiz at the end, these things tend to be always brutal. But he did hint to me that because it was a 5-year celebration, he might be kind and lowball it. Let's invite in our Belgian pal, our Lord Asshat, as he self-refers. Menno, how are you doing, my friend? How are you?
Hey, good evening. How are you? I'm fine.
I'm very well, Menno. I'm very well. Was it, I want to ask about the quiz right now. Were you nodding along through the chat tonight? Could you relate?
Yeah,
Or
absolutely.
are you in a different place?
A bit, yeah. I think of all the people who confessed tonight, I probably would have the smallest collection currently, because I have an agreement with my wife to only put bottles into one cabinet. So that means I'm really cramped for space.
Sure.
And I think at any given time I would have somewhere between 50 and 60 bottles in the house, and about 2/3 of them would be open, I think. So around 40 bottles are opened of the 60 or so that I have in my collection. Yeah. I have
So
an enormous amount of samples, though, like Luna also shared. Yeah.
it's a similar ratio to me.
Yep.
You might have spotted I didn't confess yet. Here it is now, and I will watch your reaction live while you're in, okay? When I did this, the open bottle syndrome back at the start of the year, I was woolly, and I said it was around 500, and of which 20% were sealed. The true figures are 542 that I counted. That was in April. 409 were open, and 133 were sealed. I'm really proud of myself, Menno, because right now, as I sit with you today, I only have 412 bottles open. So I've only
Good for you.
increased that by 3. So I'm managing to keep the churn rate the same.
Yep.
But I have to be honest, I've just cleared out a lot. There's a lot of empty bottles there. It's not representative, depending on when the snapshot is taken. I know that tells me I was expecting that to be lower. I thought I'd been disciplined. The fact that it's round about the same or a wee nudge higher is almost disappointing to me. What's really shocking to me is the sealed went from 133. Based on my justification of all this whiskey, I should have most of it open. Why is there any sealed at all?
Wow.
Right, but I've gone from 133 to 160 bottles, 27 more. And that's bringing me to an accumulation of 572. And I know that throughout next year, different from most of our people that were on tonight, my collection is inevitably going to continue to grow because I cannot consume at the rate I'm buying because of what I do. It's inevitable, right?
Yep.
I should have been watching your face there, but it could have been worse, I suppose.
It was somewhere between shock and deep respect, I think, somewhere between that.
Yeah, I mean, it's 17 years now of a whiskey journey for me. But when I started the channel, I probably had 60 bottles. No, maybe a wee bit more than that, but certainly maybe not 100. Maybe just about 100, something like that. So, but I would have maybe foreseen that 100 to 150, 200, the way I was enjoying whiskey would have been the right amount to keep me going forward, the amount of sharing I was doing. But the channel has meant that accumulation has strapped on a jetpack and just went absolutely nuts. That's where I stand. That's where that image that I shared earlier is. Benny Fries over in Denmark. Benny, he's bought us a dram to say congrats on 5 years, Roy. I'm grateful for having been around for 2.5 of those years. And had I not found you in your ABCDs in 2020, I may not have been enjoying the amazing world of malt whiskey today. Cheers and thanks, Benny. That's wonderfully kind words. And I'm grateful that the ABCDs mnemonic, that's age, bottling strength, chill filtration, and dye is it coloured. That's what the ABCDs are. Benny, thank you for your dram, buddy. Cheers to you. It's a nice wee dram. That's very interested to be sharing this. Your friends coming over at the weekend, I'll get their opinion on it as well and see what they think about it. Menno, what do you think is going to happen to your spending then? Your cabinet is limiting it. Does that mean that you're in a static holding pattern and it's going to continue? Or do you feel that cabinet holds enough for you to be able to back off?
No, I have a tendency to... I'm afraid of open spaces in the cabinet. So as soon as a few spaces become available, I tend to fill them up. And I do invest more in bottle splits as of recent years. Also because I'm running my wee blog.
Yeah.
So that means I have to have new whiskeys coming in, and as I can't put them everywhere, and I can't afford to buy a whole lot of new bottles, not at the rate that you do in any case, I have to revert to bottle splits, and for the moment that suits me fine. Yeah.
And I do enjoy very much reading your work, buddy. Menno's multi-mission is that wee blog, he modestly calls it. He often makes a lot of cool observations and great points. It's not all about whiskey reviews, right, buddy?
No, it's not.
So the final question I've got to ask you, if we're doing confessions then, Menno, is how hard is the quiz tonight?
It's easy, Roy. I think you might be able to bag your first 10 out of 10 on a quiz tonight.
No. I'm sure to make a mess of it, buddy.
No.
Let's bring everybody else
close. You'll come close in any case, yeah.
Well, I'll take it. What I need is a piece of paper with the letters on it. So I'll do that. I'll write out the letters while I bring everybody else in. We've got Max in Austria. In you come, Max. Let's share the pain. Luna in Germany. In you come. Rolf over in Oslo. Fantastic. And finally, he's going for it. Have we lost someone? Jez. We've lost Jez. Yeah. Let's bring in Seve, who, as promised, he's got the Tamashanter back on the Napa. The North Star sponsorship is real, folks. Seve, I've got one of those hats as well. Do you remember where we get given them?
Yeah. It was sorry, the Glasgow Whisky Club I'm sure that was it the night that they do for us annually in the.
It was Christmas. It was the Christmas night.
Yeah,
it was
that's
December.
right. Christmas night.
So it would have been December 2019, I think. And I think it was it Kira?
Yes, it was Kira. Yes.
Kira, but when she was at North Star, it was her that hosted the event, and they were giving out the North Star Tam O'Shanters. So I also have one of those too. 40
Tam O'Shanters, so 40 ginger Scotsmen. To be honest, I don't really need much more to be ginger. That's just it's covering the blonde hair, so I'm now properly Scottish.
Absolutely, it looks like it belongs on your
really
head.
goes well with your beard, Seve. So
thanks very much. I kind
extra
of feel
points,
like
extra points for the hat. Chris Pollock suggested, and I'm granting that.
Thanks very much. I kind of feel like Mr. Tumnus from The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe with this looks like flappy ears. But I wanted to mention something as well before we were talking about people have been talking about the things over the last 5 years. One of my magical memories of being with Roy, this must have been mentioned before, was when Roy and I were sitting in the pot still, and this is just a testament to what he's done. And again, I'm not trying to get soppy or anything like that with his channel. Was we were just sitting in the pot still having a kind of a blind session. I can't even remember what it was before. It was probably before one of the kind of the whiskey festivals or one of the gatherings. And somebody at another table came and sat quite close to us, and a guy was talking about how you pronounce Lechig.
That's right.
And he started muttering about it. He said, "Yeah, I've watched this YouTube video about a guy who says it's pronounced Lechig and not Ledig or Ledig and stuff like that." And I just looked up at Roy, and I was stifling a chuckle, because I thought, does he actually know that guy is literally sitting right next to him? And Roy, you can probably tell.
We inevitably just started speaking to him, and the guy just calmly just started chatting away, and then there was just that sudden moment of realization that was too funny to see, and he just kind of got this shiver, and he went, oh, "You're the guy." You're the guy in the video. I was like, "Aye, sorry, we overheard you."
Yeah, that was magic. That was good.
That's too funny. The amount of the folk that you bump into in the pot still, what a place it is as well. Fantastic.
Can you remember the drama you were drinking?
Talisker 15 special releases.
It wasn't. That was one of the dramas of the night. It was close though. It was one of the very first seasonal releases of Daphne. Because it was, remember, we were talking about the fact that Daphne is one of the very, very few distilleries I feel that I could almost every time get blind. Yeah.
That's not so true now. That's not so true now. What we were tasting was a glimpse into the future of new distilleries, right? The fermentation.
This question that Seve just posed, do you remember the dram you were drinking in this situation, kind of is only a question that a true whiskey gatherer, botherer, whatever you want to call them, can actually ask. What dram are you drinking in this situation? Oh my God,
what a great... It's amazing that there are moments that you do remember, but it tends not to be the moment that reminds you of the dram, but the dram can often remind you of the moment, I think.
Sure.
Terrific. Jimmy Legg bought a dram to flatter you here, Seve. He said, "I've never seen a man wear a hat so well."
Oh, Jimmy. We need to meet Jimmy one day, Roy. We really do. We need to we need to go to him.
I can't imagine what would happen to the whiskey world if we were all to get together with a Jimmy Legg one night.
There would be a significant disturbance in the force, no doubt.
Yeah. It would be like one of these paradoxes, Menno. It might just be like a black hole or something like that.
Yeah. Singularity, yeah.
We can't all occupy the same space. Listen, everybody, it's going to be a bit of a just fun free for all tonight. 2 hours, 15 minutes. See, I told you I would be about 2 hours, 15. That's what I predicted. Did I not suggest that I would have had the quiz out the way by this time as well? Anyway, we're just having the regular quiz, but Menno's hosting tonight because that way I get to participate. I get to play along. I'm going to try and put Menno on the driving seat tonight. There we go.
Pens and papers at the ready.
Well, we've been chatting. I marked out my wee ABCDs. So here, ABCs, sorry. So we're good to go. There's some shock on his face.
Who prepared your cards? Which of your kids prepared your cards?
I did it while we were chatting there, but it does look
he's a multitasker, or Roy.
Luna, you're actually not far wrong. I don't have any paper, so I actually have used my 6-year-old son's.
He's done the Cosmos. Fantastic.
This is what he's done when he was 4. So he's done pretty well. He's got the solar system down. I'm pretty proud of Xander. So good effort, man.
Superb. Well, good to go. The wheels are on. Remember, it's always, even when Menno's hosting it, it's always multiple choice. He's promising he's going to be easy, but there will be banana skins in there. There always has to be an asshat question from Lord Asshat himself. Take it away, my friend in Belgium. Take it away, buddy.
Okay.
5 years of the vPub, an anthology. Oh
yes,
my goodness, what's
an
happening
anthology
here?
Question 1. In November 2017, a strapping young lad from Glasgow decided to start a whiskey tube channel. Back then, the vPub was called what?
What?
Was it A, Aquavita Live? Was it B, Drams with Duffman? Or C, it has always just been the vPub?
Drams with Duffman. I missed an opportunity.
Oh, you did. Or did you?
I recently bought on the recommendation of Roddy, I bought the Scotch Whisky Industry Record, a tome of a book, quite an incredible thing. But one of the most common surnames in the book is actually Duff, which I'm very, very pleased to discover. But I hope I've nailed this one.
Oh, hang on.
Okay, Seve, when you're ready,
Menno.
everyone else. In 3, 2, 1. Hey.
Oh no.
Oh, Seve.
I've gone C.
Oh, you forced it.
I'm already 0 for 1.
Yeah, and I think Roy mentioned this several times during
this very evening.
Yeah.
Shows I was listening.
No, I remember when I decided to call it, because I always thought the vPub was a wee bit almost arrogant. You know, why would you call it? But then I just decided to go with it, and it was over the summer one year, and when I came back in 2018, I decided that was it. It was going to be just a vPub, and I'm glad it is.
Roy, I would have loved you to have got a cease and desist from The Simpsons by calling it Drams with Duffman. That would have been.
That's right. That would have been as well. Duffman. But it's whiskey, not beer. We don't care. Stop it.
Okay, then question 2. And during your second live, Roy, you already had your first guest on. Who was Roy's first ever guest on the vPub, or Aquavita Live, as it was called back then? Would that have been A, Vin from No Nonsense Whiskey, B, Rob from Whiskey in the Six, or C, Jason from Jason Whiskey Wise?
You're weighting these questions very favorably in my direction, Menno. I love you as a man and a whiskey botherer.
This could or could not be a possible banana skin.
Oh no. I was as sure as Daft Mill about this question. Now I'm not.
Okay.
Seve, just ignore Menno. He's just trying to make us feel uncomfortable.
Yeah, ignore the Menno. Okay.
That's that.
Okay, then in 3, 2, 1. Answers, please. A couple of C's, a couple of B's, and an A.
Oh, all over it. Split the room.
All over the place. Now, all of these guys were actually your first 3 guests, but there was only one to kick things off, and it was indeed Jason. So it was C.
It was supposed to be Vin, and he wasn't well. And Jason, who's a complete star, came in at very short notice because at that time I just didn't have the confidence to carry streams. And these guys, you can see that the first 3 guests were, of course, fellow collaborative, super supportive, amazing YouTubers. Terrific stuff. This is very indulgent, Menno. Thank you.
Let's indulge some more then, shall we? Okay, possibly even more popular than the vPub or Roy's recycled reviews. How many times has Roy been caught filming himself standing next to the famous purple glass container? So how many recycled reviews have there been so far? Was it A, 10, B, 15, or C, 20?
Oh no.
Oh no! Yeah. No. I mean, the question was how often was he next to his purple
Ah.
container?
No, how many?
I
recycled-
think
No,
Menno,
that's a
before
banana
the answer
skin.
is revealed,
Excuse me.
has clarified. He did actually say how many recycled reviews have there been so far.
He's next to his purple container. Every vPub is just behind him on the shelf.
Yeah, that's
But he sent one from Spain. That was not next to a purple container. But
Luna,
I'm
you're
okay
getting
with
very
Answer the
Menno.
question,
technical
Luna.
here.
How many recycled reviews are there so far?
okay. 3, 2, 1. A lot of bees, a lot of bees, a lot of bees.
These.
Absolutely
And all the
spot
community
on.
say
Bees.
only 15.
I mean, Roy, what are you doing? You've got all these open bottles. Going to get them drunk?
Exactly.
It's true. It's true. I've got no excuse. I've declared it. I've confessed it.
Okay. Question 4 is the dram-faced question. Over the years, Roy has gone deeper and deeper into the rabbit hole, and earlier this year, he kickstarted dram-faced alongside Jason Julier, who is lovingly nicknamed what?
Oh, he's got too many nicknames.
What is dram-faced co-founder Jason Julier's nickname? Is it A, Mr. Fantastic? Is it B, Judge Dredd? Or is it C, Captain Marvel? All three
But
would
he's-
be good
Yeah.
nicknames, I think.
All of the above.
Jason.
Yeah, he's also JJ, Whiskey Rover, Wraith Rover.
But particularly during the podcasts, he has a nickname. and I'm
Yes,
looking for that one.
absolutely.
Oh no.
Who is? Oh, and he's also Dallas 4, which is the worst kept alias secret in Dramface.
Second worst kept,
I'm confused.
probably.
Oh, Gregor. Okay, let's go.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. BBB.
Oh, it has to be okay.
Of course, it's Judge Dredd.
You know,
How am
that
I
was a
doing so
guess, but
far,
it had to
Gregor?
be that.
I'm just looking at what Gregor scores is for the moment.
Gregor McQuee. It's Thanksgiving. Is he in tonight?
Yes, he was
Oh,
earlier.
yes.
I saw him earlier. Yeah.
Okay, another serendipity question is the picture question. This was actually the first ever guest on the vPub who is working in the whiskey industry, but who pays his wages? Would that be
Us.
A Japanese company, B, an American company, or C, a French company?
Yeah, Menno, is it not us?
Yeah,
Do we not
yeah,
pay his
probably
wages?
D is a good, us is a good, yeah.
Yeah. Can I say that this guy was not only one of the first guys to step forward in the vPub, but even before he was on the vPub, one of the first people to step into the YouTube space and trust it. He was the first person to host me on a live stream. He was the first person to step forward when I asked to do a blind challenge, which is a huge thing to ask of somebody in the industry. That guy is one of whiskey's gentlemen.
Absolutely.
It's quite fantastic.
Yep.
And he's been a regular on the guest.
He has. He's a star. I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1. Answers,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
A lot of A's, and of course, we're looking at the wonderful Scott Adamson, who works for Tomatin, and that's a Japanese company or owned by a Japanese
a bonus point. If anybody who can say the company name.
Takara? Is it Takara?
Yeah.
Takara Shuzo.
Well
Yeah.
done.
Takara Shuzo. Yep, Tomatin. And actually this product I have tonight, like I say, I feel like I bought this with my own money. There is no sponsorship going on here. Good.
Okay, how's everyone doing so far? A lot of 4 and
Well,
5 out
along
of
with
5.
Rule, Orange Rule, Rob Smith, Gabriel Wilding, Steve Atkiss, all celebrating their past. Falsgraf, Ian Bowes. I have my pass mark 5 out of 5. I'm going to just pour another wee dram to celebrate that, Menno. Thank you for this. Is not the type of quiz I asked for, but I'm just going to soak it up and enjoy it. I like it. Thank you.
I told you I was going to be lenient tonight.
Yes, it's very self-indulgent.
Okay, this might be a bit tougher. Who was the first ever female master blender to be a guest on the vPub? Was it A, Rachel Berry? Was it B, Kirsty McCallum? Or is it C, Julian Fernandez?
This is a banana skin. This is a banana skin.
Oh no.
I could trip up here, but no, I'm going for it.
Yeah, I'm going.
This was back in the time that, I mean, it's really tough to get these type of people now because of how utterly exhausted, how hard they work. But there was a time during COVID that they were, you know, available, much more available. And I made the most of it, as you know.
And truth be told, 2 of these 3 were guests with just a few weeks in between them, I think.
Yes.
So there's
That's
a
why
possible
I'm
banana
struggling.
skin.
I'm gonna commit.
Okay.
I'm ready.
3, 2, 1. Answers, please. They got a B, a C, a C, a B, and a C.
Oh no!
Oh no! Oh no! Well, I can exclude Rachel Berry. She's never been on the vPub, so it's between Kirsty and Julianne. And Roy, I'm sorry to say, there goes your 10 out of 10 tonight. It was Julianne.
I was just thinking because
I don't
Roy,
believe you.
Roy, you
Oh
were
my
going
goodness.
totally fanboy on Kirsty,
Yeah.
and you were so happy to have her. But I think you needed convincing a bit more to invite her, something like this, and that is why I thought it was.
Luna nailed it.
I met Kirsty at the SMWS opening night in Bath Street in Glasgow. That's when I was fanboying, and because that was peak Deanston love probably for me. And she had just moved to Glenmurray.
Yep.
And I had her on when she was at Glenmurray. She's now moved down to, obviously, I can't remember, Halewood, Crabby and Co and everything. But I'm shocked that Julianne was on first. And Julianne, apologies to you for not realising that you were on first. That's amazing.
I only remember it was Julianne because you were talking about that very situation, and then I remembered that it wasn't the person you were talking about.
Well, you've got better memories than me, and that's why you're doing better than me. There goes my 10 out of 10. Menno, you tried your best, buddy. Let's go for the 9.
I'm struggling.
Okay, Rolfy, how are you?
3 out of 6.
Ooh.
Struggling.
Okay, let's go for the pass mark then. Over the years, Roy has obviously had many guests appearing on the vPub, but who was the very first guest of this year in 2022?
Wow.
Was it A, Billy Abbott? Was it B, Ingvar Ronde? Or was it C, Roddy?
Haha.
That's a bit more confident than I think.
Yes.
I've got to go with my first thought.
Gregor is celebrating. Time for a drama. He's saying, pass heart hit, Menno. I have not been defeated. He's saying.
Well done, Gregor. Okay.
I'm ready, buddy.
Are you ready? 3, 2, 1. Answers, please. A bee, all bees, all humming with bees. And you're all absolutely correct.
Yes.
Well done.
One of whiskey's gentlemen.
Absolutely. Okay. Quickly on to the banana skin question. I think it's a banana skin question. Which of these distilleries or companies has received the most nominations in the Oswas so far? Would that be A, Arran or Lacranza? Would it be B, Compass Box, or C, Springbank?
Hmm.
What do you
Wow.
feel? What do you think?
So just sheer numbers, right?
Yeah, just nominations, official nominations, not people's vote. Official nominations in the two Osbos we've had so far.
Wow.
Hmm.
I'm ready.
Okay. Answers in 3, 2, 1. B, A, B, B. A lot of B's. Max, I'm sorry to say you got tripped over. It was close, but Arran has snapped up 5 nominations and Springbank 4, but Compass Box is the winner with 7 nominations.
Yay.
Yes.
Well done, well done.
Pass mark.
Still on course for a close but no cigar, 9 out of 10, right?
All right.
Let's
keep it that way.
Keep it going.
As we're nearing the end of 2022, a lot of lists tend to appear, and which of these has never been picked as Roy's Whiskey of the Year? Would that be A, Arran 18, B, Deanston 18, or C, Annock 18? So which of these whiskies has never been picked by Roy as his Whiskey of the Year?
All of those whiskies are deserving. All of those whiskies are fabulous.
I was hoping Bell's was going to come up. Nothing wrong with a Bell's.
It did cross my mind. No, it didn't. Okay. Are you ready?
Hold on.
3, 2, 1. Answers, please.
No. What?
Rolfy.
I hear a Viking screaming.
You've been talking about the Arran 18 all the time.
Yeah, but it was
Yeah,
never
I talk
Whiskey
about
of
it,
the
but
Year. It was always just a nice draft.
No, it came in. It was, I think a couple of years ago you picked. Was it? I think it was the year when you picked the Glendronach 15 as your Whiskey of the Year, and when the Arran came in second or so.
I did pick Arran 14, Luna.
Mm-hmm.
A number of years ago. Our favourite, but I've not picked Arran 18.
I thought that was going to be an inadvertent banana skin with the Deanston, but I clubbed for the Arran at the end. But
aye, Deanston is current. Deanston 18 is current.
So how are we for scores before we go into the ASAT question?
8.
8.
8
8.
of 9.
9.
Luna's on a full house.
9 for 9, Luna. Oh my goodness.
Did I tell you I was a fangirl? Sorry. I had to come
You
up.
should put that on a t-shirt.
How's Rolfy getting on? Rolfy?
5. Pass mark.
That's
All right,
not
well
big.
done.
I'm good.
Max?
I'm good.
So always a
Nice.
relief when you don't have to rely on
5,
the
8.
assets to get a pass mark. Well done.
Oh, but
Okay, let's just get to it then. Here comes the asshat question. Although I feel it could be a mild one. In 5 years of Aqua Vitae, the tally of total vPubs mounts up to what?
Oh my goodness. I'm glad you're not measuring in hours.
A, about as much as all of the Scottish malt distilleries mentioned in the 2023 Malt Whisky Yearbook, so meaning operating new distilleries and closed distilleries. Is it B, about as much as there are whiskies reviewed in the recycled reviews? Or is it C, more than A but less than B?
Oh no. More than A but less than B.
I don't even understand what C means.
Oh my goodness. So now I'm trying to do some mental math.
Can I take my socks off and do
Are
some
you
counting?
including the extended opening during COVID?
I've counted them all.
Wow.
and I just had a quick look at your spreadsheet on your 15th recycled review to
Menno,
get a yes.
does this include the lock-ins or just the vPubs?
Yeah. Oh, no, not the lock-ins.
Not the lock-ins. Okay.
Not the lock-ins. The official vPubs. Yeah.
Oh
I've
my
done some
goodness.
compound mathematics, and I'm pretty certain I've got it wrong.
I don't even know what compound mathematics are.
Right.
Thank you very
I'm just
I'm going
guessing.
for it. I'm going for it.
Okay. Answers in 3, 2, 1, and I'll put you out of your misery. A, C, C, A, and C. Luna, what did you pick?
C.
C. You got a 10 out of 10.
Oh,
There's 209 official vPub episodes,
That's
and there's
incredible.
241 recycled reviews, and about 160 or so distilleries mentioned in the malt whiskey yearbook. Yeah.
Well,
Well
I'm just gonna. What's the average runtime for a vPub? Just for pure kicks. I mean, we're already at 2 there. Let's go for 2.5 hours, right?
Yep.
209 times 2.5 hours is 522.5 hours of broadcasting. You know, people talk about prolific YouTube output. Sorry, but if you measured it in minutes, I'd be doing okay. I think. I don't know how much value's in those minutes, but my goodness, 209 vPubs. Menno, I had no idea.
Yep.
How many Scotch malt distilleries are mentioned then in the
160 or so, I think. Yeah.
Is that operating closed and new?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think
It's almost 22 days of vPub.
Sorry?
That's almost 22 days of vPub.
Continuous 22
Continuous.
days. That's not much. That doesn't sound much at all. I'm just not trying hard enough, Max. Oh my goodness. Let's see the chat. Let's see how they got on. There are some 10 out of 10s. Fantastic people doing better than me. I only managed an 8 on my own quiz. I'm not destined, Menno, to get a 10 out of 10. Peter Box on 9. Fantastic, Peter. Rob Halford. Good to see you, Rob. He's also on a 9 in Roy O'Meara. Roy, we got to hang out with Norwegian Roy as well. He's on a 9. Graham Young managed a 10. That's not his first 10. He's a regular 10. Andrew Butler is a regular 10. He scored at a 10 again. Gabriel Welding, fantastic, Gabriel. It might be your first. I don't know. 10 out of 10. Falscraft, 10 out of 10. Lots of 10 out of 10s, Menno. Not your intention, but you've made a lot of people in the quiz in the lounge. Sorry, very, very happy.
It's a celebration vPub. I told you,
Fantastic.
who wants donuts when we should be having cake?
That's absolutely right. Oh my goodness, it's too embarrassing. I don't feel bad because I've never counted, and I just those dark days of lockdown were very foggy, and I couldn't remember if it was Julianne or Kirsty that came first. That's frustrating. I still feel like it was Kirsty that was on first even now. My goodness. 8 out of 10 for me. Anybody else? How did you get on?
9.
9 for Seve. You beat me.
Yeah,
You were
I
guessing.
I guessed 2 of them, but at the same time, I'm taking 9 out of 9 after getting the first one wrong.
Fair enough.
Rolfy.
And I did say you could get an extra point for wearing the hat, so that's back that.
Yay! 10 out of 10. Rolfy.
I had 5. So I'm happy.
5 still.
5, yeah.
Oh,
All good.
pass mark, buddy. Pass mark.
Yes.
And Luna, you managed a 10.
Yes.
2 10s live, but 1 real 10, Luna. Max,
Unreal.
8.
8. Well, you and I can be the
You're in
8
good
brothers.
company.
Menno, fantastic. I wonder what
Hey.
Jez would have scored. I think we should make Jez take it later. he's away to count his bottles.
Put
And
them in the
congrats
spreadsheet.
to 5 years, Roy. And may long be the doors of the vPub be open.
Thank you so much, buddy.
Well
You're-
said.
I need to another wee confession from me tonight. When Rolfy put the message in the chat about this very topic, and I immediately mentioned to say this is a great thing, for the vPub to involve the community, I got excited very, very quickly, and I think I commented so in the vPub, because what I wanted tonight to be about was just to say thank you to everybody that turns up every Thursday night and indulges this thing. It's incredible to me. I have one of the biggest challenges in my life is explaining to people who I meet what I do for a living. And now I've started to really enjoy it because I love the shock, horror, and just pure curiosity on their face when they realize it. It needs somebody to invest in this thing to understand what it actually means to me and to loads of other folk. And I know that it means something to you as well. And it's not about me just saying, aye, this is a great thing, this is a great thing. Why? Because I have made genuine friends. I talk to you more than I speak to the friends that I've known for 40 years. That says a lot. And I want to thank you for your indulgence. I want to thank you for your support and your smiles and your glasses of whiskey and everything for the last 5 years and beyond. And I raise a glass to the next however many years we can keep this thing interesting and fun. Thank you, you beautiful, beautiful whiskey folk. Cheers.
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 Guys, please hang about, stay backstage if you can. And I'll raise a wee glass for you after we're live. Luna, thank you so much. Rolfy, my friend from Norway, thanks always. You're always there, and it's great to have had you here tonight. Max, fella, I'll see you. If we're fortunate, I'll see you in Limburg. Seve, fantastic. I love it. Thanks for bringing more energy. Thanks always for being around. You're just fantastic, buddy. It's great to call you a pal. And Menno, it's nuts that you and I have still to meet. I don't think it's going to feel like meeting when we finally get to share a glass of whiskey together, right?
Nope.
Thank you for everything that you do. Thank you for being there. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your positivity. Thank you just for being Menno. Tonight you were not Lord Asshat. You were just fantastic. A very cool quiz to have enjoyed tonight, even if it was very channel indulgent. Buddy, thank you. Lord Asshat is something that he, I believe, calls himself, but he was not an asshat tonight. Jimmy Leggs bought me a dram to say, I'm not a big fan of yours, but take this anyway. Jimmy, I'm a big fan of yours, buddy, regardless. Thank you very much for your dram, and thanks for your humour, and thanks for also being here. Terrific stuff. One of the reasons that I don't kind of plan or arrange parties and celebrations and things like that is because I don't know how much fun it is and how interesting it is for people to watch and things, just to kind of, oh, I've been doing this for, but I've got to just take stock of what has happened over the last 5 years and how that, you know, I keep making mistakes and I keep doing odd things and strange things and experimenting with things, and still people seem to hang out with me on a Thursday night. It's a privilege. I always say it's a privilege, and I always tell you I won't ever tire of talking about how privileged it is. I've managed to find something that I love in whiskey, and I've managed to find a way of enjoying that whiskey. And it's nuts that I love it just as much as the thing is itself. From that, more opportunities have come. The Oswas, Dramface, podcasts, but more than anything, opportunities to know very, very good people. Gino has bought me a dram to say, congrats on your 5-year vPub channel, Roy, and happy to be a part of it. Ready, set, here I come, Scotland. Gino and Graham, of course, are travelling together in the coming days, and I can't wait to meet them. Peter Lee is saying, I'll see you on Wednesday. And Jimmy Legg is saying, we are some of the luckiest people alive. Jimmy, I sometimes wonder who I have to thank for it. Anyway, I'll raise this wee glass and I'll say I'll be back here, of course, for the 210th, as it turns out, vPub a week from tonight. Things are looking just now, it looks like a solo session, but that's okay. And then the week after that, it looks like there's going to be some guests. More will follow in the coming days. I'll raise this glass in the meantime, and I'll say thank you, not just for the 2 hours and 45 minutes tonight, but for the last 5 years, for the last 209 vPubs. It's It's wonderful. It's a privilege, and I'm very, very grateful. You're all very dearly loved. I'll see you next week. Sláinte mhath.